Chapter 1199. On this floor, there were a total of 12 guards. The leader of these 12 people was an artillery rank cadre, the only one wearing a white suit. They did not expect that someone could actually escape from prison. All of them had taken the strength dispersing pill, so their cultivation was at most at the acme of perfection. Furthermore, Li Fan had taken more than one pill. According to the higher-ups, Li Fan was special and had eaten 9 pills in a row. After eating these 9 pills, not to mention Li Fan, even a Daluo Golden Immortal would not be able to withstand it. Who would have thought that Li Fan cultivated elemental energy? With just a small trick, he was able to neutralize the 9 heartless strength-dispersing pills. At this moment, Li Fan had changed into a black suit and looked very handsome. His valiant aura caused the guards in front of him to be startled. What a martial arts hero! Did he really disperse his cultivation? His eyes were shining and his temples were bulging. One look and you could tell that he had the demeanor of a martial arts expert. Stop! The leader of the artillery rank cadre was also nervous. However, if he could subdue this little tyrant, his career would definitely soar. As the saying goes, people die for wealth and birds die for food. He pointed at Li Fan and cursed, "Don't you know what kind of place this is? How dare you escape from prison? If you know what's good for you, quickly surrender. Otherwise, I will take your life." Li Fan smiled. He tidied up his suit and crooked his finger at the white suit cadre. "Come, let's play. Go." The 11 black-suited guards obeyed the order and directly stepped forward, surrounding Li Fan in the center. The leader wanted to fight for credit and was holding a Mo Dao in his hand. This Mo Dao was 1.5 meters long and its handle was 40 centimeters long. In front of its head was a sharp blade like a spear. It was a long-handled weapon invented in the Tang dynasty. In the Tang dynasty, there was a world-famous Mo Dao team with extremely strong attack power. Li Fan's own escort trained the Shield Sword team, which was different from the Mo Dao team. The Mo Dao team pursued attack while the Shield Sword team researched both offense and defense. Not to mention the Shield Sword team, the Mo Dao team used the Mo Dao team as a spear. He used the Mo saber in his hand as a spear. He aimed it at Li Fan's lower abdomen and stabbed it. Stabbing the throat required skill. The throat was big and could be easily pierced. Stabbing the throat required skill. A person's throat was huge. Putting aside the fact that it was easy to miss, if the other party was agile, they could easily dodge it by tilting their head. However, he was stabbing the abdomen. The abdomen was very wide and had a high hit rate. Li Fan stretched out 2 fingers and flicked the blade of the sword. Clang! With a crisp sound, the Modeo was deflected and stabbed to the side. At the same time, Li Fan chopped the guard's neck with his palm like a knife. He showed mercy and did not kill him, only knocking him out. Li sword of Li of Li Fan. He were of the guard of. The guard managed to escape with his life. Li Fan was in a good mood at the moment. More guards stepped forward and stabbed Li Fan's heart with their Mo swords. Li Fan placed one hand behind his back and extended 2 fingers from his other hand. He kept flicking the Mo Dao team in front of him. At the same time, he struck the guard's forehead and knocked him out. After a few hits, 6 guards were lying on the ground and would not wake up for a while. The remaining 5 guards were frightened by Li Fan. They cowered in front of the cannon-level cadre and did not dare to make any movements. The cannon-level cadre was no longer as arrogant as before. As the saying goes, when an expert makes a move, it will be obvious. Li Fan knocked down a few guards with a few moves. The demeanor of an expert was fully displayed. The cannon-level cadre pondered in his heart. This was not a competition of the same level. They were not his match at all. Come, let me ask you. Li Fan asked the cannon-level cadre. This brother slowly retreated as if he was afraid. I told you to come forward and talk. Li Fan glared and reached out his hand. This cannon-level cadre was directly sucked into his hand from a distance of more than 10 meters. Li Fan lifted the artiller-level cadre's neck into the air and questioned him directly. Let me ask you. Do you know someone called Professor Kai? I don't know any Professor Kai or Professor Fan. The cannon-level cadre turned his head and said. I don't have much patience. Li Fan extended 2 fingers and tapped on the cannon-level cadre's acupuncture points. A heart-wrenching pain flowed through the cannon-level cadre's meridians. Wherever it passed, it felt like needles were drilling into it. It was so painful that the cannon-level cadre screamed. Spare me. Hero, spare me. This brother did not resist and begged for mercy. The surrounding guards did not laugh at their leader. At this moment, there was no one who was not afraid of Li Fan. This guy is too scary. To be able to suck a person into his hand from a distance of more than 10 meters, what kind of skill is this? It seems like the cultivation dispersing pill is just like candy to him. Then why don't you say it? In the research room. Close the research room. No, not. This cannon-level cadre shook his head. Before he could finish his words, a red light suddenly flew from the side. Following that, a red dagger the length of a finger pierced his temple and took his life. Li Fan was somewhat surprised. He was too focused on his question that he did not notice the hidden weapon. However, from this, it can be seen that the person who threw the hidden weapon is also a hidden weapon expert. At least, he is much more skilled than Yin Tian Tian. Li Fan threw the corpse to the side and looked at the dozens of guards that appeared in front of him. There were not many guards on this floor, only 12. The cannon-level cadre who just died was the person in charge of this floor. But now that something happened, all the guards came and surrounded Li Fan tightly. And the leader is a minister-level cadre. He is wearing a white suit with a black tie. Other than his clothes, this person is a typical Jianghu person. He is a man with long hair tied into a ponytail that hangs behind him. Looking at his appearance, he has cold eyebrows and starry eyes. He is handsome, but it is a pity that he is a lackey. This minister-level cadre also has a Chinese divine weapon, which is that red dagger. This guy stretches out his hand and the red dagger is pulled out from the corpse. After shaking off the blood, it flew back to his hand. This hidden weapon skill is not bad. Li Fan praised. The other party did not reply. He flicked his hand again and the red dagger instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. Li Fan did not hesitate. He stretched out 2 fingers and gathered his yuan qi at his fingertips. He flicked the dagger. Dang! With a crisp sound, the dagger bounced off. This dagger flew far away and was caught by the minister-level cadre. Sorry, can you make way? I have something to do. Li Fan said politely, but this minister-level cadre did not want to agree. He flicked his hand and the hidden weapon flew over again. This time, it went straight for the throat, taking his soul. Chapter 1200. The Prime Minister cadre was very confident in his hidden weapon skills. There were 3 sparrows flying in the sky. If he was given a stone, he could shoot down 3 of them. It was such a beautiful hidden weapon skill. Now, he had used the dragon chip to increase his strength and even gave it to a powerful Chinese weapon. This made the Prime Minister cadre even more confident. In this world, there were not many people who could catch his hidden weapon. He swung his hand and used the best technique in his life to shoot the fastest hidden weapon, aiming straight for Li Fan's throat. This brother had never failed in using hidden weapons before. This time, he was also full of confidence. He was prepared to take Li Fan's life. Li Fan stood there leisurely, stretched out his hand, and caught this hidden weapon in his hand. This thing is not bad. Li Fan played with the dark red dagger in his hand. Is this also a Chinese weapon? Li Fan played with it for a while and asked. Give me back my weapon. The Prime Minister cadre was shocked. How could his hidden weapon be taken away? What kind of ability was this? He picked up the knife of a comrade beside him and pounced forward. The knife stabbed towards Li Fan's heart. Li Fan leaned to the side and dodged the knife. But the Prime Minister cadre was also an expert. The knife slashed horizontally. However, Li Fan had already expected such an attack. He was even faster. He slapped his hand down and slapped the MO saber to the ground. At the same time, he sent a flying kick at the Premier cadre's chest. The other party took 2 steps back. He couldn't stabilize his body at all. After a few steps, he sat on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. He couldn't beat him. The Prime Minister cadre's face was pale. I have a question. Li Fan reached out and pulled a royal guard over. He politely asked, how do I get to the laboratory? That person didn't dare to do anything wrong. He trembled and pointed to the passage beside him. Thank you. Li Fan placed him on the ground and adjusted his collar. Everyone, see you later. Li Fan turned around and walked outside, running all the way. After he entered the elevator, he realized that there was no need to ask anyone else. Every floor of the elevator was marked with information such as laboratories, command cabins, medical cabins, and so on. The laboratory was 3 floors below. Just as Li Fan was about to press the button for the elevator, the lights in the elevator immediately turned black, followed by a red light. Yuer's voice rang out, carrying a hint of anger. Li Fan, this is my territory. Do you think you can run away? Yeah, it's not fun here. I'm going back. Ah, what a fool's dream. Just stay in the elevator until you die. The elevator was motionless, out of control. Li Fan was not in a hurry. He directly stomped his feet, and with a bang, the elevator instantly slid down. Because the elevator had an emergency brake, after Li Fan kicked the elevator down 4 or 5 floors, the emergency brake was activated and pulled the elevator to a stop. Li Fan pushed open the elevator's safety door and jumped out, landing on it. Then, he calculated the floor and jumped in front of the elevator, reaching out and pulling the elevator door open. It was indeed a laboratory outside. There were many complicated facilities, and many people in white coats hiding at the side. Many of the royal guards pointed their MO swords at the elevator door, charging at Li Fan who was about to come out. Oh, there are quite a lot of people. Looking at the group of MO swords in front of him, Li Fan smiled. Everyone, you are no match for me. Stand down. Don't listen to his lies. Attack. Yuer was hiding somewhere, using a megaphone to give orders. The royal guards did not dare to disobey. They braced themselves and charged forward, raising their MO swords and stabbing at Li Fan in unison. What kind of inner force did Li Fan have? He stood there and spat out a mouthful of essence chi. It was as if a gust of wind had blown through the laboratory, causing the royal guards who were wielding their MO swords to sway unsteadily. Li Fan took the opportunity to dodge a MO saber. He held it in his hand and directly pierced through the heart of an imperial guard. Like skewering meat, he lifted him on the saber and threw him to the side. This time, Li Fan did not hold back. He held the MO sword like a grim reaper's scythe, reaping the lives of 5 royal guards in the blink of an eye. The remaining royal guards finally knew fear. This young man in a black suit was not an opponent they could face. What should they do? Run? That was impossible. The warden would not let them off. Fight? That was courting death. Who else wants to die? Li Fan said coldly while holding the mo dao that was dripping with blood, scaring the rest of the Imperial Guards into running away like rabbits. Yue couldn't stop him no matter how hard he tried. Yue, don't you have any good helpers? Li Fan stretched his muscles and bones, bored to death. There's no point in fighting like this. Li Fan, don't you dare be so arrogant. Yue cursed. I still have a secret weapon. Oh. Then hurry up and take it out, lest I get bored. I do have a weapon, but Li Fan, you'd better think this through. Yue warned Li Fan. You're a criminal now. If you break out of prison, you'll be defying the law. Whose law? Li Fan laughed. The law of your royal guards has nothing to do with me. I'm the sword of the state, above all the laws. I'm only here to have fun. Now that I've lost interest in young master, I'd like to see who can stop me. Is that so? Then take a look and see who this is. A platform rose from the side, a person chained to it. This person had a dignified appearance and a burly build. He did not look like an ordinary person. He wore a black prison uniform and was chained up, but he did not seem dispirited at all. His eyes were still bright and full of life. Yue, you dog, you're finally willing to let me out. The speaker was none other than the head of the Murong family, Murong Bo. Murong Bo. Cut the crap. I'm giving you a chance to atone for your crimes. Kill Li Fan and you'll be spared the death penalty. Yue yelled through the speaker. How noisy. Murong Bo looked at Li Fan in front of him. I didn't expect you to come out earlier than me. I didn't expect the once mighty Manor Lord Murong to become a prisoner today. TSK, see, this is the fate of a lackey. What in the world can lock me up? Murong Bo laughed heartily. I'm here to find a suitable place to kill you. As he spoke, Murong Bo shook his wrist and broke free of the chains, slowly walking down. Yue was dumbfounded, not making a sound. You have nowhere to run now that you're here. Besides, my daughters aren't here, so no one will be able to protect you. Murong Bo walked forward as he spoke. His feet left fingernail-deep footprints on the ground. Chapter 1201. This is not some marble floor but an alloy floor. To be able to be stepped on by Murong Bo and leave such a mark, it is absolutely shocking. Li Fan crosses his arms and stands in front of Murong Bo without any fear. Although Murong Bo is strong, he is an enemy that he must face in the process of growing up. If he can't defeat Murong Bo, it will be difficult for him to advance in the future. Li Fan, this is your grave. I feel that the feng shui here is quite suitable for you. Li Fan points around, look, don't you like it? I'll pull out your annoying tongue first. As Murong Bo speaks, he looks at Li Fan and inhales through the air. His devil technique has already reached great success and his ability to absorb people is also extremely strong. After absorbing Li Fan's Star Luo divine technique, it has become even more magical. He stretches out his hand and Li Fan feels a force grabbing his body out of nowhere, pulling his body towards Murong Bo's direction. But Li Fan takes a horse stance, his feet are rooted firmly on the ground. But the royal guards beside him can't do it. One by one, they are pulled over by this attraction force and sucked in front of Murong Bo. These royal guards that are close to Murong Bo immediately begin to age. Their vitality is forcibly extracted and entered into Murong Bo's body. There seems to be some green light in the air, separated from the royal guards and then is sucked in by Murong Bo's nose. In this breath, Murong Bo seems to become stronger. Li Fan, although your 7-hero fist is not bad. But this 9 Buddha Sutra is the truly powerful one. Murongbo says with a smile, I'm afraid you still don't know the real magical effect of the 9 Buddha Sutra. I raised thousands of devil cubs, absorbing their power day and night, and only then did I comprehend a little bit of the 9 Buddha Sutra. But I didn't expect that you could comprehend a complete set of mental cultivation methods with just a few remnant pages. The 9 Buddha scripture is indeed good. If I want to learn it, Imperial Consort Show can teach me at any time. But what's the use of learning this kind of predecessor's martial arts? Only by practicing it yourself can it be considered real martial arts. So young, but so ambitious. Murong's blog looked at Li Fan. You gave up on the 9 Buddha Sutra, but didn't you still learn the 9 Truths Essential Technique and cultivate primordial chi? The 9 Truths Essential Technique is a philosophy, not a martial art. Li Fan watched Murong throw the bodies of the royal guards aside and reminded him, since you're so arrogant today, I'll beat you up with the 7 gallant fists. With that, Li Fan stood there and hooked his finger at Murong. Old dog Murong. Bring it on. Fine, I'll also let you know what the true use of the 9 Buddha Sutra is. As Murong's blog spoke, his body suddenly emitted a large green radiance. The green radiance became more and more intense. Murong's blog was like a big light bulb, illuminating the entire laboratory. The green radiance suddenly retracted and converged into Murong's eyes. His eyes seemed to be burning with green flames. This is the true essence of the 9 Buddha Sutra. Murong's blog's body emitted a powerful aura, causing Li Fan to be secretly alarmed. Flame palm. Murong's blog raised his hand, and his palm suddenly turned emerald green like jade. His body moved so fast that one could not see it clearly. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Li Fan, and his palm struck towards Li Fan's forehead. Li Fan subconsciously raised his hand and used Ursa Major Seal to meet it. Bang! The two collided and separated. Li Fan slid back by 3 meters, and Murong's blog also took 2 steps back. A burning sensation made Li Fan's palm hurt. In the past, his flame palm was extremely fierce, and one palm could explode the opponent's body. But Murong's green flame palm was extremely soft, and it allowed the energy to enter his body and cause destruction, which was even more terrifying. But the most terrifying thing was that when he exchanged blows with Murong's palm, a lot of the essence in his body was sucked away. In the past, he could only absorb essence chi, but now he could even absorb essence chi. If this continued, it would be disadvantageous to him. Murong's blog did not give Li Fan any time to react. He once again moved forward and used his flame palms, aiming straight for Li Fan's vital points. Li Fan used his crane hand and slapped away Murong's palm. But just as he thought, every time he attacked, the opponent's burning and gravitational force would constantly weaken his strength. Ha! Li Fan suddenly used a fierce tiger roar, causing Murong's blog to take a step back. At the same time, Li Fan also got a chance to catch his breath. He took 3 steps back, suppressed the burning pain, and readjusted his aura. Li Fan, do you know fear now? Murong's blog laughed. Do you really think that you can defeat me, Murong's blog, just because you have cultivated essence chi? I, Murong's blog, have roamed the pugilistic world for decades, sweeping across the pugilistic world. You can cultivate essence chi, I can also cultivate arts. Sure enough, Li Fan frowned. Murong's words confirmed his guess. The essence chi in his body had also undergone a qualitative change, from essence chi to the so-called arts. That old dog Murong was indeed abnormally strong. His essence chi was extremely young and firm, while the other party's arts were soft and sinister. One was positive and the other was negative. Alright, now you can die knowing why you're dying. Murong's blog said as he directly entered the second stage of martial god, allowing the golden god of war armor to be draped over his body. This laboratory space was small, not suitable to release the martial god true body. But the second stage of martial god true body was clearly more convenient to operate. And the armor on Murong's body slowly turned dark green, confirming the attribute of his power. Li Fan did not dare to be negligent. He quickly put on the flying lion armor and entered the strongest state. Flame palm. Murong's blog instantly arrived in front of Li Fan, and his palm went straight for Li Fan's chest. Li Fan leaned to the side, avoiding Murong's palm technique. At the same time, he grabbed a ball of white chi bead, and with a dragon-spitting pearl, he hit Murong's shoulder. Murong did not dodge, and took Li Fan's dragon-spitting pearl head-on. But the power of the dragon-spitting pearl was like a clay ox entering the sea. Most of it was absorbed by Murong's body. The remaining small part, which could not be of much use, was shattered by Murong's protective aura. He turned around, and his palm grabbed Li Fan's neck, locking his body, and at the same time began to desperately absorb Li Fan's essence chi. Li Fan was shocked in his heart, but his reaction was very fast. He pushed his hands forward, and his fingers pierced towards Murong Bo's eyes. Although Murong's blog could absorb power, his eyes were not made of iron. If he was stabbed by Li Fan, he would become blind. He did not dare to be negligent, and immediately pushed his palm, sending Li Fan flying. Li Fan somersaulted in the air and landed on the ground again. The current Murong's blog was like a human-shaped black hole, too troublesome. Chapter 1202. Li Fan, don't resist. You're no match for me. Murong Bo calmly looked at Li Fan, who he had thrown out. Although I don't like you, it doesn't affect my admiration for you. As a young man from an ordinary family, it's indeed praiseworthy that you can grow to this stage. Murong Bo raised his art. The green light on his body seemed to be burning. You created the 7 heroes fist and can even rival me. This makes me see the shadow of myself in the past. If you were my subordinate, I would be very willing to nurture you. After all, I don't have a son. As for Jiang Feng, he's also a disloyal person and can't be of much use. But unfortunately, you got close to my daughter. To me, both of my daughters are treasures. With your background, you don't deserve to be their partner. After saying so many high-sounding words, it still means the same thing. Li Fan laughed. You're a perverted daughter complex, hugging your own daughters and refusing to let go. It's also their misfortune that Murong Ying and Murong love a father like you. Bullshit. Do you know how much I love them? Do you know what a father's love is like? You shameless, despicable, pretty boy. With that, Murong Bo roared. Just as he was about to make a move, Li Fan was faster and slapped him across the air. Dragon King Seal. Bang! Murong Bo subconsciously used his hands to protect his body and stood in place. A huge palm print appeared on the alloy wall behind him. Those who didn't know would really think that it was a slap from a dragon god. Although his body absorbed some of the vital energy from the palm, Murong Bo still suffered a certain impact. His armor also made a squeezing sound. He raised his head again and looked at Li Fan, who was standing opposite him. I also advise you not to underestimate my 7 heroes fist. Perverted daughter complex. Ridiculous. Murong Bo once again activated his skill. With a flick of his feet, he instantly appeared in front of Li Fan and directly slapped Li Fan's cheek with a flame palm. Li Fan was not careless either. He had already raised his essence chi to the extreme. Li Fan tilted his head slightly and dodged Murong's palm strike. At the same time, he struck Murong Bo's acupuncture point with the white crane nod. The smallest contact surface could reduce the absorption of vitality. Moreover, the white crane's nod was not light at all. After taking a hit from Li Fan, Murong seemed to be unscathed. She launched another flame palm at Li Fan. Li Fan wasn't able to dodge it completely. In the process of retreating, he also took a few blows from Murong. But his white crane nod also hit Murong many times. Bam! Murong Bo suddenly slapped Li Fan's chest. Li Fan took 2 steps back and half knelt on the ground. The burning sensation went straight to his heart, causing Li Fan's body to tremble in pain. Ha ha ha, Li Fan, your time of death has come. Murong Bo was very excited. He quickly stepped forward, raised his skill to the peak, and slapped Li Fan's forehead. But at this moment, his body suddenly stiffened and he knelt in front of Li Fan. This is... Murong Bo felt that he temporarily lost control of his body. I have hit 18 of your acupuncture points. Li Fan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at Murong Bo, revealing a smile. You are too confident, Murong Bo. The one who is going to die is not me. With that, Li Fan stood up, stretched out his right hand and slowly opened it. Crane. Li Fan's crane directly pierced Murong Bo's left eye. A wet and sticky eyeball was pulled out by Li Fan. Ow! Murong Bo screamed in pain. His acupuncture point was originally locked, but at this time, it was forcibly torn open. Boom! A strong skill erupted from Murong Bo's body, impacting Li Fan's body, sending him flying out and landing in the distance. Li Fan felt a little regretful. He originally wanted to blind Murong Bo. But he only had time to blind one, and the other was dodged. Who would have thought that Murong Bo would forcibly remove his restriction? Li Fan guessed that after losing an eye, Murong Bo should be a little unhappy now, right? Li Fan, I want your life. Murong Bo seemed to have gone berserk. He was already so old, but he was tricked by Li Fan. In addition to the pain of losing an eye, he was abnormally furious. The old man took a few steps forward, and the power of his flaming palm increased. At the same time, it had a suction force, making it difficult to dodge. Li Fan originally wanted to dodge, but the suction force forcefully pulled his head, making it impossible for him to dodge. The berserk Murong Bo seemed to be a little more troublesome. But he could make use of his impulsive nature at this time. Li Fan stretched out his hands, blocking in front of him, and caught Murong Bo's palm. He slid backwards, and at the same time, some of his essence chi was sucked away, and his arms felt an intense burning sensation. This battle had probably greatly weakened him, just as Yuer had hoped. Li Fan retreated as he fought, and soon, he arrived at the laboratory's window. Outside the window was an endless ocean. From time to time, fish and prawns would swim by, revealing the dark and mysterious underwater world. Murong Bo raised his palm again and slapped at Li Fan. However, Li Fan was faster. He smashed the window with his palm, and the water pressure immediately shattered the entire window, causing the seawater to surge in. The submarine sounded the alarm, and the iron plates on the windows began to open, automatically sealing the place. This was the submarine's automatic trigger. Li Fan had made a bold gamble. He grabbed Murong Bo with his other hand and activated Father Bear Pile Driver. His arm became thicker, and like firing a cannon, he threw Murong Bo's body through the waves and into the deep sea the moment the door closed. In the blink of an eye, Murong Bo had already disappeared. The submarine's door was completely closed, isolating the waves and Murong Bo outside. Li Fan sat on the wet floor and heaved a sigh of relief. He knew that he wouldn't be able to trap Murong Bo for long. He had to race against time. He stood up and dried his clothes with Yuan Qi. His gaze seemed to be electrified as he searched for Professor Kai among the researchers present. Li Fan had seen Professor Kai's photo before. He was a middle-aged man with half a head of white hair. He scanned the crowd twice and found his target. Done. Li Fan walked toward Professor Kai. However, a few royal guards immediately rushed forward, stabbing at Li Fan with their MO swords. Li Fan didn't even dodge. He kicked quickly, sending the heads of the royal guards flying. His vicious methods intimidated the others, and the remaining royal guards didn't dare to move forward. Yuer's voice also disappeared. He didn't seem to know how to deal with Li Fan. Professor Kai, come with me. Li Fan reached out, parting the crowd and grabbing at Professor Kai. Who wants to go with you? This is my kingdom. Professor Kai's originally weak gaze suddenly turned sharp. Chapter 1203. Li Fan had a bad feeling, but Professor Kai had already pressed a switch. The cabin door suddenly opened, and white smoke was slowly released from the cabin door, rolling into the cabin. This white fog seemed to be very cold, even the water stains on the cabin floor were frozen. This is seawater. How could it freeze? Li Fan was a little surprised. This white fog was strange. Li Fan felt waves of cold from this white fog. Even he could not help but increase the vitality in his body to protect his body, to prevent himself from freezing. Looking at the researchers, they were all shivering, their faces were pale, and their lips were blue. Within the white fog, a person's figure slowly appeared. Li Fan took a look. This guy was not someone else. He had straight eyebrows, was handsome, and had a dignified appearance. This was not someone else, it was him. A clone. Li Fan already knew his identity. This guy was wearing a black and white close-fitting special combat suit. There was a metal edge in between his eyebrows. It seemed to be some kind of chip. He closed his eyes, stood there, and let the white fog flow on his body. This is your clone. Although Professor Kai was freezing, he was very excited to introduce to Li Fan. His body is made up of your genes, and some of the genes of other martial arts experts, and even mutants. You should have seen one before, the one who can control flames. He is named Number 1. But I have given them a new name. He is called Heaven's Chosen Number 2. So, you are willing to be a dog for the Imperial Army? Nonsense. Professor Kai sneered, his eyes flashing with fanaticism. We are all working for the government, isn't it the same everywhere? Moreover, here, I can research my human cloning technology unscrupulously. Human cloning technology, this technology is currently classified as a banned technology in the world. Those who have watched Schwarzenegger's The Sixth Day should know how terrifying it would be once human cloning is truly developed. And although some countries have research, they are just trying to deceive people, hiding it. This technology in China was just developed, but it was sealed. As for this submarine, it belonged to a place outside the jurisdiction of the government. Professor Kai was almost fanatical about the research of cloning. That was why when he was lured here by the royal guards, he was extremely excited, thinking that he had found a home. Li Fan could see the fanaticism in his eyes. He knew that Dr. Kai would not go back with him. But a mission was a mission. No matter what, Li Fan would take him away from here and escort him back to General Ran. When he arrived, General Ran would naturally put him on trial. Or rather, they wanted him to atone for his crimes and continue to contribute to protecting Huaxia. However, this was General Ran's problem. Let that guy worry about it himself. Heaven's Chosen One, activate. Professor Kai seemed very excited to see the activation of Heaven's Chosen One. This was a good opportunity to test Number 2's data. He had to record it properly. After receiving the order, Li Fan's clone finally moved. He slowly opened his eyes. Unlike Li Fan, his pupils were glowing red. Heaven's Chosen One leaped and instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. At the same time, he slammed his palm down on Li Fan's forehead. This person's palm carried a strong cold air. Before it reached him, Li Fan's body was already cold and he was shivering. Damn, this thing is so fierce. In terms of strength, it seems to be much stronger than Li Fan -1. Li Fan instinctively rolled sideways and landed to the side. Frost erupted from Heaven's Chosen One's palm. The place where Li Fan stood just now exploded into a cold crystal. It froze there, emitting a strong chill. Fuck, Li Fan wanted to curse. This thing is a little too fierce. That was not the end. Heaven's Chosen One landed on the ground and opened his palm at Li Fan, who was standing in the distance. Frost condensed in his palm. Soon, a row of ice needles the size of a fountain pen condensed and shot at Li Fan. Dang dang dang. Li Fan waved his crane hand and continuously slapped away the ice needles in front of him. The ice needles were extremely fast. 9 shots at a time, one after another, like a machine gun. Li Fan actually could not handle it. Heaven's Chosen One was a combination of a mutant gene and a martial fighter gene. It was already very difficult to deal with. Furthermore, Li Fan had just fought a big battle with Murong. His stamina was now weak. Dragging it out was not a solution. He had to end the battle quickly. Li Fan quickly mobilized the Yuan Qi in his body and struck a Lion King punch at Heaven's Chosen One. Bam, bam, bam. The Lion King punch broke through the ice needles. Li Fan took the opportunity to quickly teleport in front of Heaven's Chosen One. At the same time, he raised his palm and with a knife hand posture, he slammed it directly on Heaven's Chosen One's forehead. Heavenly Punishment. Lightning Palm was one of the dragon combat techniques he learned from Dragon Lady. Li Fan modified it and named it Heavenly Punishment. Dragon combat techniques were divided into 4 elements: wind, fire, thunder, and water. Li Fan learned the Thunder Dragon Race's combat technique from Dragon Lady. This lightning palm could be said to be the most basic palm technique. However, Li Fan only had a mortal body. He did not have the power of thunder in his body. However, he could absorb electricity and use it in place of the power of thunder. Moreover, Li Fan combined this lightning palm with God slaying. He used his knife hand to replace the sword and turned his palm into lightning. It was even more powerful. Therefore, he named this move Heavenly Punishment. Crackle. The electric light exploded on top of Heaven's Chosen One's head. Heaven's Chosen One instantly knelt down. His body was covered in electric sparks and he could not move for a long time. Heavenly Punishment. Second Strike. Li Fan waved his knife hand again and split Heaven's Chosen One's body into 2. The upper half of Heaven's Chosen One's body flew out and the lower half of his body knelt there. Li Fan heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, this clone did not have much intelligence. It would definitely not end well for him to take his heavenly punishment head-on. Heaven's Chosen One is not so easily defeated. Professor Kai's expression was a little distorted. Li Fan was just about to laugh at him, but he stopped. Suddenly, many black tentacles flew out from the cut of the Heaven's Chosen One's corpse that was cut in half. They grabbed the researchers and the Imperial Guards and sucked away their flesh and blood. Those people did not even have the time to scream before they turned into a pile of bones. Li Fan was stunned. This thing was even scarier than a monster. Before Li Fan could figure it out, 2 tentacles had already shot towards him. These tentacles were as thick as 2 fingers, but they were extremely dangerous. Get lost. Li Fan swung his knife hand and the tentacles were cut off in the electric light. There was a heavy knocking sound outside the submarine, as if someone was knocking on the door. That Murong Bo was probably coming in soon. Chapter 1204. Murong was slamming into the outer wall of the submarine while the Chosen One was devouring the lives of the people in the laboratory. Li Fan didn't have time to hesitate. He immediately jumped to Dr. Kai's side and grabbed him in his hand. "What are you doing? Let go of me!" Professor Kai screamed. Li Fan slapped him unconscious and carried him on his shoulder. According to General Rand's information, there should be an emergency escape route in the Sky Prison. Li Fan had seen it in the elevator previously. It was one floor below. Without any hesitation, he carried Professor Kai and ran to the elevator. Li Fan was as fast as the wind. He used his qigong to the extreme. His feet almost left the ground. He stepped in the air and arrived at the elevator in a few steps. At this time, the Chosen One had finished replenishing his nutrients and reconnected his body. He was slowly getting up. There was also a huge bump on the wall of the submarine. It was obviously caused by Murong. To be able to unleash such power in the deep sea, Murong was indeed powerful. Li Fan didn't have time to think. He carried the unconscious Professor Kai and jumped into the elevator shaft. Then, he kicked open the door to the next floor. Rows of hatches were placed in front of Li Fan. He could hear Yuer's roar as if he was giving orders. The submarine was in a mess. Yuer must be very distressed. Li Fan couldn't be bothered with him. He opened a sealed hatch and threw Professor Kai in. There was a small space of 1 square meter inside the hatch. There was a round window the size of a palm outside that allowed one to see the bottom of the sea. As Li Fan and the rest entered the cabin, the hatch closed immediately. The cabin shook slowly and a woman's countdown echoed in the cabin. Countdown to the launch of the escape pod. 10, 9, 8. Li Fan tried his best to calm himself down. They had already escaped this far. There should be no problem. At this time, there was a loud bang outside the window. Murong's huge face was right in front of Li Fan, glaring at him with his only eye. This old fart actually chased him all the way here. How did he keep up with her? However, the countdown in the cabin had already reached the end. The entire cabin suddenly trembled, and with a thud, it was ejected from the submarine. Li Fan grabbed the railing with both hands to prevent himself from falling. As for Murong, she had been left behind. She didn't know if she could keep up. However, this escape pod was equipped with an underwater booster. After it was launched, it shot towards the surface of the water like a missile. At this speed, humans could not catch up with it underwater. In the time it took to breathe, bright sunlight shone through the window. Li Fan looked out. The escape pod had already left the bottom of the water and rose to the surface of the water. It floated alone on the surface of the sea, gently swaying with the waves. No matter what, he had escaped for the time being. He pushed open the hatch at the top of the escape capsule, jumped out of the heavy cabin, and stood on the top of the escape capsule. In front of him was a vast ocean. Li Fan had no idea where he was. However, it didn't matter. General Rand had implanted a chip under the skin of his forearm. This was not a dragon chip, but it was used for emergency positioning. In the past, Li Fan didn't want to get it, but this time it really came in handy. As soon as he appeared, the signal jamming device of the submarine lost its effect. General Rand should be able to quickly locate him and send someone to pick him up. However, there was still a group of terrifying guys underwater. Li Fan had to stay away for the time being. After the escape pod reached the surface of the water, it was useless. It was basically a moving coffin. Li Fan's feet stepped on the top of the escape pod. His feet seemed to have taken root, and he used his vital energy to suck the escape pod tightly. At the same time, Li Fan pushed out his palm and pushed the escape pod far away with his primordial chi on the water surface. Li Fan didn't know where to go. Anyway, he just needed to stay away from the submarine. An hour later, Li Fan was already very far away. It was estimated that the group of people would not be able to catch up. Only then did he feel a little relieved. He let the escape pod float quietly on the surface of the water, and he sat cross-legged on the top of the pod. He felt the sea breeze blowing while he meditated. He didn't have the spirit recovering pill to replenish his vital energy, so he could only rely on himself to recover by meditating. Fortunately, Li Fan had a pure yang body and practiced the 9 Truths technique. His vital energy recovery speed was much faster than ordinary people. After meditating for a long time, the sky gradually turned dark. Dr. Kai slept very deeply. The blow from Li Fan would make an ordinary person sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. When he was almost done adjusting his vital energy, Li Fan opened his eyes. The sun had already sunk halfway into the sea, and half of the sea was dyed red. It was as if a dye vat had been overturned. Li Fan looked into the distance. This was the first time he had seen such a scenery. It would be great if he could watch it with the girls in the dojo. When he went to Li Family Island, he would probably see such a scenery often. When that time came, he would prepare a villa overlooking the sea on Li Family Island and live with his beloved. Wouldn't that be great? Li Fan stretched his back. The haze that had been hanging over him for the past few days seemed to have dissipated in this beautiful scenery. Rumble, the sound of a helicopter came from above. Li Fan looked up and saw a military transport plane flying towards them. However, the sea was vast, so it was difficult to find the exact location of the escape pod. Li Fan was confident about this. He stepped on the escape pod and the vital energy in his body flowed through the escape pod into the seawater below. The surrounding seawater was affected and slowly swirled. The seawater gradually turned into a small whirlpool, which immediately attracted the attention of the people on the helicopter. The helicopter also descended and released a rope before throwing it to Li Fan. Li Fan didn't need the rope at all. The helicopter's current altitude was just right. He grabbed the limp Dr. Kai and jumped onto the helicopter that was more than 10 meters high. The soldiers above were shocked, but when they remembered that this was the guardian of Hua Xia, the imperial sword, they quickly calmed down. This soldier had the title of captain. He saluted Li Fan. "Major Li, welcome back to the team. Is there anything to eat? I'm hungry." On the submarine, Li Fan only ate steamed buns and cabbage every day. His mouth was so bland that birds were about to fly out. There's a can of instant meat. Is that okay?" "No problem." Li Fan licked his lips. He felt like he was possessed by a dragon girl. Even if he was given an entire cow, he would be able to eat it. Li Fan sat on a chair beside him and took the can from the captain. There was a pull ring on it. As long as he pulled it off, there would be a chemical reaction that would quickly heat up the can. This was the regular food of the army. Although it didn't taste particularly good, Li Fan really needed to replenish his protein. Just as he opened the can, a roar came from below. Chapter 1205. Li Fan lowered his head to take a look. Oh my god, that old fellow Murongbo had actually caught up to him again. The head of Murong Villa walked on the waves and caught up to the location of the escape pod in a few steps. Li Fan was a little angry. He thought to himself, I didn't lower myself to your level, but you're still incessant. Major Li, what should we do? The captain asked for Li Fan's opinion. Give me a compass, then you can go back first. Since Dr. Kai had already handed it over, the rest of the matter, Li Fan could completely rely on himself to act. Yes. The duty of a soldier was to obey orders. Since the Shangfang sword had given such an order, then they would carry it out. The captain took out a waterproof compass and handed it to Li Fan. Then, he ordered the helicopter to start pulling up. "Where are you going?" Murongbo bellowed and kicked the escape pod with his foot. The escape pod immediately turned into a cannonball, soaring into the sky and smashing towards the helicopter high in the sky. However, Li Fan jumped down from the helicopter. He hugged the escape pod in the air and spun around, neutralizing the upward force, and then threw it back. Murongbo stepped on the waves and raised his leg to kick the falling escape pod. The escape pod was kicked to the side and floated on the sea. Li Fan just happened to land and stepped on the escape pod, looking at Murongbo on the sea. Walking on the waves was the same principle as walking on the void. Martial fighters relied on strong internal energy to walk on the water surface and walk on the waves. However, the speed of internal energy consumption was too exaggerated. Before long, one's internal energy would be depleted. However, Murongbo was clearly an exception. As he walked on the waves, he absorbed the life force of the fish in the sea and continuously replenished his internal energy. This 9 Buddhist Sutra, this guy really didn't practice for nothing. However, Murongbo no longer had the prestige of the past. At this moment, his hair was disheveled and he was blind in one eye. "Li Fan, I want your life." Murongbo's remaining eye had a scarlet glow in it. It was obvious that she was extremely angry. He leaped up and landed in front of Li Fan. 2 experts stood in a small escape pod. The 2 of them unleashed all their skills and engaged in a life and death struggle above the escape pod. Before the battle between Murongbo and Li Fan could be decided, the seawater suddenly parted and another figure jumped out. The 2 of them turned around and saw that it wasn't a stranger either. It was Chosen One number 2. This man, who looked exactly like Li Fan, was wearing a special combat suit. He spun in the air, lifted his leg, and slammed it down. White frost swirled around his feet, quickly forming a 4 to 5 meter long frost axe. Anyone who saw it would feel a chill run down their spine. Murongbo and Li Fan did not dare to be negligent. The 2 of them exchanged a palm strike and then leaped back. Bang! Number 2's foot came down, directly splitting the alloy escape capsule into 2. Li Fan and Murongbo both landed on the surface of the sea and stood on the waves at the same time. The entire escape pod was made of alloy. After it was split open, it slowly sank into the sea. Li Fan calculated the time he could stand on the waves. He could probably last about an hour. Moreover, he was definitely not a match for the 2 of them at this rate. This was not a suitable place to fight. Li Fan did not hesitate. He turned around, stepped on the waves, and quickly escaped. "Where are you going?" Murongbo did not even think about it and directly followed behind. The Chosen One also followed. Li Fan and Murongbo were both prisoners who had escaped from prison. His mission was to capture the 2 of them. However, in terms of Qigong, Li Fan believed that he would not lose to anyone. He had learned the dragon combat technique from the Dragon Lady. One of the techniques was called cloud travel. He stepped on the clouds and flew in the air. To the dragon race, this was as easy as walking. However, after the dragon race transformed into a human, they needed some techniques to use the same technique. The way this technique was executed was similar to the void step. It was to step out with inner force and step into the air. At the same time, with some swaying of the waist and legs, it allowed one to swim in the air like a divine dragon. The so-called cloud travel was to move quickly in the air, just like swimming in the water. Li Fan's speed was extremely fast. Every time he moved his legs, he could jump 30 to 40 meters in the air like a swimming dragon. Although Murongbo and the Chosen One's Qigong were also very good, none of them could catch up to Li Fan. Li Fan used cloud travel in the air and tapped on the surface of the sea from time to maintain support. After all, he was not a true dragon and could not fly in the air. This cloud travel had to fall once every 100 meters in the air. He needed to regenerate. After running for more than 20 minutes, Li Fan finally saw a small reef island. This reef island was not big. It was only 100 meters long and was constantly being washed by the seawater. It was smooth and slippery when stepped on. However, this was enough for Li Fan. He planted his feet on the island, his soles sinking into the reefs to stabilize himself. Li Fan stood there and quickly adjusted his breathing. Although his speed was not as fast as Murongbo's, it was still far faster than ordinary people. Not long after, those two perverts would catch up. It was better to adjust for as long as he could. Not long after, Li Fan heard a whistling sound. He opened his eyes and saw two black figures approaching quickly from afar. As expected, they came. Li Fan laughed coldly. I was waiting for them. These two were very difficult to deal with. Even if they were a distance away, they could still find his aura and catch up. If he did not defeat these two today, they would probably keep finding trouble with him. Moreover, when they were fighting just now, Li Fan realized that Murongbo's eyes had recovered a lot. It was obviously the effect of the 9 Buddha Sutra. Just like Imperial Concubine Zhou, this old fellow could slowly reach an immortal state by relying on the vitality of others. This trip to the prison was too painful. He had provoked two perverts. When Li Fan was meditating just now, he was thinking about how to deal with them. The waves continued to wash against the island, and the splashes of water sank together with the setting sun. It was already late. A bright moon was slowly rising from the other side of the sea in place of the sun. Tonight's moon was round and bright. It was like a huge lamp hanging on the horizon, shining on Li Fan. As the black figure approached, Li Fan kept chanting Dragon Lady's name in his heart. He was an imperial sword and had an inexplicable tacit understanding with Dragon Lady. Although the distance was so far, it was the only way at the moment. Murongbo and Heaven's Chosen One were getting closer and closer. The two of them flew over, one on the left and one on the right. Li Fan, where do you think you're going? Discovered target 2, annihilate. The two of them quickly stepped on the sea and rushed in front of Li Fan. Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes, and a smile hung on the corner of his mouth. It's here. A golden light suddenly cut through the sky. Chapter 1206. Murongbo and Heaven's Chosen One both landed in front of Li Fan. Although the two of them would fight, Li Fan was their priority. Just as the two of them landed on the island, a golden light flashed in the sky. It was like a dragon cutting through the night sky and instantly appeared in front of the three of them. Boom! The golden light hit the island, causing Heaven's Chosen One and Murongbo to take 2 steps back. A golden sword was stabbed into the ground in front of Li Fan. There was even a faint electric glow on it. The Dragon Lady had indeed heard his prayers and sent him this Shangfang sword. With this sword, Li Fan did not have to worry about not being able to defeat the two of them. The Shangfang sword was used to cut down evil spirits. Li Fan had seen it before. When Imperial Concubine Zhou saw this sword, she also avoided it. Li Fan stretched out his right hand and held on to the hilt of the Shangfang sword. Little bastard, do you think you can defeat me with just a sword? Murongbo did not care about this sword at all. He stretched out his hand and the surrounding seawater was sucked over, condensing into a water sword in his palm. Imperial Concubine Zhou had used this move before. Li Fan could also use it. At this moment, the water sword in the old man's hand glowed with green light. He had gathered his Yin power to the extreme. Heaven's chosen one's gaze fell on the Shangfang sword and he muttered to himself. Dangerous weapon detected. Automatically switching to weapon form. Heaven's chosen one stretched out his right hand. Frost slowly condensed in his hand. Soon, an ice spear appeared in his hand. As the saying goes, an inch longer, an inch stronger. He held the spear in his hand and pointed it at Li Fan's throat. These two were top-notch experts. Ordinary methods would not work in a fight with them. Open. A dazzling golden light burst out from Li Fan's eyes. A strong force exploded from his body and impacted the surroundings, causing the two of them to move away. What power! Murong frowned and put her arms in front of her to block the shock wave released from Li Fan. Li Fan was wearing a golden robe with arrow sleeves. His pupils had turned completely golden. When Li Fan opened his eyes, a golden radiance was released. Murong Bo was startled when he saw this. What was going on? Why was there such a terrifying pressure coming from this kid? He was already a turtle in a jar. Could it be that he still had some tricks up his sleeves? Thinking of Li Fan's black-bellied side, Murong felt a little uncertain in her heart. Without hesitation, he left as quickly as he came. The old man immediately turned around and left on the waves. So fucking smart, Li Fan had no time to chase after Murong. He had to get rid of the chosen one first. Li Fan suddenly raised his sword and pointed it at the sky. In an instant, a huge golden sword fell from the sky and directly hit the chosen one's body, cutting him into meat paste. The chosen one did not even have time to resist and was instantly killed. After Li Fan used this move, the golden light on his body slowly dissipated. The arrow sleeves also dissipated bit by bit. He returned to his original appearance. The Shangfang sword in his hand suddenly rose from the ground and shot into the air, disappearing without a trace. After using it, the Shangfang sword returned to the Dragon Lady. Only when the Dragon Lady fell asleep would the Shangfang sword truly belong to Li Fan. Moreover, the Shangfang sword would probably not be willing to stay by Li Fan's side. Looking at the pile of minced meat on the ground, it was still wriggling slightly. Li Fan could not help but mutter in his heart. This Shangfang sword specialized in killing evil spirits. Murong practiced evil skills and was considered an evil spirit like Imperial concubine Zhou. But the chosen one, he was an artificially created clone. Could he be considered an evil spirit? Just as Li Fan thought of this, the minced meat suddenly wriggled violently. Black tentacles popped out and quickly wrapped around Li Fan. Before death, the chosen one would absorb the surrounding flesh and blood to replenish his nutrients and reconstruct his body. However, the only flesh and blood here was Li Fan. Li Fan was shocked. He quickly reached out and waved his hand, trying to cut off these tentacles. However, there were minced meat everywhere and so were the tentacles. They wrapped around Li Fan's body crazily, leaving him nowhere to hide. Li Fan felt as if his body was about to be torn apart. These tentacles were frantically devouring his body. However, how could Li Fan admit defeat just like that? He could not die here. He let out a long roar that pierced through the clouds. Vital energy continuously emerged from his body, resisting the tearing of these tentacles. Li Fan felt as if he was playing tug-of-war with a strongman. It was a competition to see who could move the rope. However, Li Fan's strength in this tug-of-war was not small either. Golden Body. Li Fan directly used the Golden Body technique. He condensed the vital energy around his body, forming a golden shell that wrapped around him. With this enhancement, Li Fan's body was indestructible. No matter how the tentacles struggled, they could not take away any flesh and blood from Li Fan. When creating the Chosen One, they chose Li Fan's genes. This was because Li Fan was young and had potential. When he was young, his skills had shocked everyone and he had dominated the pugilistic world. Therefore, after struggling for a period of time, these nanocells slowly became confused. The real Li Fan was here. They quickly thought that this was their main body. Since they could not snatch it away, they would attach themselves to it. Soon, these cells began to enter Li Fan's body. They found the place where they should be and slowly merged with Li Fan. Li Fan was freed from the tearing pain. Soon, he felt a sense of expansion, followed by an unprecedented feeling of comfort. It was as if something in his body had been filled. Layers of black tentacles surrounded him, as if forming a black cocoon. The diamond-shaped chip also quickly drilled into Li Fan's body, trying to squeeze into his brain stem and control Li Fan's brain. However, Li Fan's mental strength was also trained. He quickly felt this threat. He immediately controlled his mental strength and used his vital energy to control his flesh and blood to resist this chip. This chip was continuously squeezed by Li Fan and could not resist. Soon, it was squeezed into his left hand by Li Fan's strength and stabbed into the back of his left hand. Meanwhile, the nanocells continued to merge with Li Fan. A layer of ice crystals formed on the outside of the black cocoon, freezing him inside. This fusion lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. Within these 3 days, Murongbo had also come here once. However, he did not feel any aura. He only saw an ice crystal thrown on the island. Murong did not think much of it. He thought that this was left behind after the battle between Li Fan and the Chosen One. Li Fan should have slipped away long ago. As for what happened to Murong, let's not talk about it. 3 days later, Li Fan, who was in the black cocoon, suddenly opened his eyes. Chapter 1207. After Li Fan opened his eyes looked different. At first glance, his eyes were like a pair of stars in a cold night. They were bright and full of expression, releasing an admirable spirit. Li Fan's body shook, and the ice crystal was immediately shattered. In an instant, an icy mist sprayed all over the reef island. The black cocoon was also instantly frozen into an ice cocoon, which was shattered by Li Fan. He stood up from inside and took a deep breath of fresh air. Li Fan stretched, then glanced at his left hand. There was still a diamond-shaped chip embedded in the back of his hand. It had broken through his skin just like that, revealing a section of it. It exuded a high-tech vibe. This was slightly different from the dragon chip. The dragon chip did not have autonomous control abilities, but this chip did. It had a computing device on it, and it even stored the martial arts of various sections. However, because Li Fan had forcibly separated the chip from his brain, the computing ability could not be used anymore. This thing had become a decoration. It could not be called a decoration. It should be called a time bomb. Once he weakened, this thing might go against the flow and compete with him for control of his brain. Moreover, he could not pull it off, because its only value now was to stabilize the genome in his body. There were many nanomachines in the genetic cells of the Chosen Ones. At this moment, these nanomachines were in his body and had merged with him. If he forcefully pulled this thing off, the nanomachines would lose control, and his body would suffer terrible damage. His life might even be in danger. However, there were also benefits. In addition to having the ability to use ice, his body would also quickly regenerate with the help of the nanomachines if his body was damaged. In other words, this fusion was still quite beneficial to him. Li Fan stretched out his left hand. The ability to use ice and primordial energy fused together, making his left hand look like white jade. The combination of superpowers and primordial energy should be even more powerful. Li Fan was confirming his thoughts. The power gathered on his left hand became stronger and stronger, and the surrounding temperature suddenly dropped a few degrees. After his power reached an extreme, Li Fan slammed his palm on the ground. Bang! The island under his feet suddenly turned into ice crystals and then exploded, scattering in all directions and floating in the sea. Li Fan stepped on a piece of ice and looked at the turbulent sea. He was excited. It worked. This palm was too powerful. Should he name this palm the Chosen One's palm? Pfft, why should he advertise the Chosen One? Thinking that his basic cultivation technique was the dragon fighting technique, Li Fan decided to name it after dragon fighting technique. The new cultivation method should also be settled. Li Fan had a clue in his heart. When he returned, he should start training in seclusion. Thinking of this, Li Fan stepped on the ice and judged the direction. At this time, the sun had just risen in the east. Li Fan did not even need a compass to determine the direction. Li Fan and his body immediately leaped forward. Li Fan used a day's worth of effort. When he was tired, he found an island to meditate and rest. After replenishing his strength, he continued moving forward. After that day, he finally came across a fishing boat. He disguised himself as a victim and boarded the boat. "Friend, where are you from?" The captain looked to be in his 40s. His skin was rough, and his skin was dark. He wore a short shirt, and his body was filled with the moist aura of a man from the Yu family. After he rescued Li Fan, he asked Li Fan in a Shandong accent. This familiar voice reminded Li Fan of his dormitory boss, Wang Yang, so he felt a sense of familiarity. "How did you fall into the water?" In this vast sea, it was rare to save someone who had fallen into the water. Especially since there were no wrecked ships nearby, the shipowner could not help but ask. "Father, why are you so talkative? Can't you see that I'm freezing?" A 15 or 16-year-old girl with delicate and pretty features, but her skin was a bit tanned. She was carrying a set of clean clothes to give to Li Fan. In order to disguise himself better, Li Fan deliberately wet his suit. I'm just curious. You're already an adult, yet you're still so curious. I'll go get little brother to change his clothes. Keep an eye on the fishing net." With that, the girl led Li Fan into the cabin next to them. This fishing boat was not very big. It was just a small fishing boat. However, it was easy to get a fishing boat, but difficult to get a fishing license. Especially in the sea area between the Bohai Sea and the Yellow Sea, a fishing license could even be offered at a sky-high price. There were only the father and daughter on this fishing boat. The girl was very warm-hearted and put the dry clothes on the bed. "Brother, you can change your clothes here. I'll help you wash your clothes." With that, he stood in the cabin with his hands clasped behind his back, showing no intention of leaving. It's not convenient for me to have you here," the girl giggled. "Why are you men from the city so shy? I've seen a lot of naked men out fishing. Take it off, I'm still waiting to wash your clothes." "Okay," the girl was generous, which made Li Fan look a little petty. He took off his suit, revealing his tall and strong body, which made the girl's eyes shine. "Thank you. I'm not calling you, my name is Xiong Mei," the little girl said as she took Li Fan's clothes. "Oh, thank you, Xiong Mei." Li Fan winked at her. This name was really a pun. "Brother, you're so glib, be careful that I don't eat you." After saying that, the girl looked at Li Fan's stunned expression, smiled again and again, like a silver bell, and then skipped away. Li Fan was a little dumbfounded. This girl, what does she mean? He shook his head and put these things aside. He changed into a pair of shorts and a vest, and then walked out of the cabin. "Brother, when can we get to the land?" Li Fan planned to inform General Ran and the others to pick him up when he reached the shore. "The night after tomorrow, we'll go back." The captain pointed to the east. We just came out a few days ago, and now we're going to cross the border to catch some fish. Cross the border to catch fish. Li Fan was a little surprised. Wouldn't it be over if we get caught? There's no other way. The boatman sat on a chair and smoked his pipe. There are almost no fish left in the fisheries in this area. Those bastards used to use the death net too much, so now everyone can only take the risk to go to the other side to catch fish. Aren't you afraid of being found? I'm afraid that I can't make money. I still have a family to support. The captain sighed. My eldest daughter is on this ship, and I have a boy under me. For that boy, my eldest daughter doesn't even go to school and fish with me to make money. I have a word. I don't know if I should say it. Li Fan's words made the captain stunned. What do you mean? Chapter 1208. The bosun does not know the meaning of this. He does not go to the net and fishes all day long. Every time he goes out, he will be out for about a month. If not for sending Li Fan off, the bosun would have to stay here for another month. They have a rule, they cannot go back empty-handed. Brother, you are valuing boys over girls. Li Fan looks at the bosun and wants to reprimand him. This kind of thinking is really scary. Since ancient times, the idea of valuing boys over girls in China is too serious. If it is Li Fan himself, he would like to have a daughter. Even if it is a girl, she can also practice martial arts and pass on martial arts to him. Little brother, you are not married yet, how would you know the difficulties of being the head of a family? The bosun sighs. If not for the fishing permit, our family would have starved to death. She is a good girl. It is a pity that she did not finish school. Li Fan felt a little regretful, but every family had their own difficulties. He couldn't care less, and he couldn't care less. However, this family is fated with him, so Li Fan still wants to contribute. How about this? You saved me, so I will thank you. After we reach the shore, I will thank you both. Use this money to send your daughter to school. Li Fan is kind, but the bosun waved his hand and rejected Li Fan's good intention. Saving people is my duty, how can I exchange my conscience for money? But, all right. Little brother, you're quite a busybody. You can stay on the boat for 2 days, I will send you to the port 2 days later. If you really want to be grateful, do more good deeds later. This bosun is an honest person, he does not want Li Fan's money no matter what. Compared to him, Li Fan felt that he was indeed a little stinking of money. He does not say anything else, he only stands at the bow and looks at the vast sea. Not far ahead is the fishing area of South Korea. Once they enter the fishing area, the bosun will be able to complete his mission. He even took out a South Korean flag and stuck it on the fishing boat to confuse others. Will this work? Li Fan still felt unsafe. In the past, he had always seen news of South Korea capturing Chinese fishermen. It's fine, don't worry. The captain seemed to be a regular customer. It's not like we're the only one here. There's nothing wrong. Li Fan looked to both sides and saw many fishing boats fishing nearby. Just by looking at the fishing boats, it was impossible to tell which was the Chinese fishing boat and which was the Korean fishing boat. But not long after, a South Korean fishing boat came into sight. It seemed to be patrolling. But the captain didn't care about him at all. He was following the radar and chasing the school of fish. What are you looking at? Smelling a delicate fragrance, Li Fan turned his head and saw that Xiong Meili had slipped to his side without him noticing. She was leaning on the railing and talking to him. This Xiong Meili had delicate features and a good figure. She was wearing a white blouse, and her breasts were half exposed, pressing against the railing. It was extremely alluring. As for her lower body, she was wearing light yellow cropped pants that wrapped around her beautiful long legs, revealing a youthful and healthy feeling. Li Fan hadn't tasted meat for a long time. He had been living like a monk in prison for a period of time. At this moment, Xiong Meili didn't hide her charm at all, making Li Fan a little greedy. When a flower blooms, it should be plucked. Don't wait until there are no flowers and there are only branches to pluck, a thought floated in Li Fan's mind, and he quickly extinguished it. Damn, why did I start to let my imagination run wild? Li Fan patted his face to calm himself down. Little brother. Xiong Meili saw that Li Fan was a little distracted and called out again. I'm just worried about our safety. Li Fan straightened up and explained. It's okay. We come here often. Also, when we fish nowadays, we follow the radar. The radar chases after the school of fish. Wherever the school of fish goes, we go. Sometimes when the school of fish comes here, we have to take the risk to come in. You can't risk your life to earn money. Li Fan couldn't help but ask. Don't be afraid. I'll protect you if anything happens. Xiong Meili couldn't help but laugh. Listen to yourself. I'm not a gigolo. Hee, how can there be a gigolo as silly as you? Xiong Meili simply turned over and sat directly on the railing. Then, she shook her little feet. After such a long time at sea, she had long been used to such a life and was very comfortable. Xiong Meili gently pressed down her hair that was blown by the sea breeze and hummed a fisherman's tune. Brother on the other side of the sea, do you know how much I miss you? Sister on the other side of the fishing boat, looking at the stars every day and night. On the day we return from the sea, you hold me, stepping on the beach. I hope that when the moon hides, I'll be panting in your ear. This little tune was so interesting that Li Fan was a little lost in thought while listening to it. It was okay at first, but the more he listened, the more he felt it was not right. When she sang the last two lines, she almost made Li Fan hard. What the hell? How did a good ballad turn into a dirty tune? Xiong Meili seemed to have gotten her way. She couldn't stop laughing and turned to run away. This girl. Li Fan shook his head repeatedly. She was poisonous. Li Fan turned around and continued to look at the vast sea. The sea breeze was very comfortable, with a little fishy smell. When it blew on Li Fan's face, it made Li Fan feel refreshed. He simply sat on the deck, closed his eyes, and began to contemplate his new move. Although the Fist of Seven Heroes was a very strong combat skill, the higher it went, the more perverted the opponents would be. It was time for a new generation of martial arts skills. The Dragon Lady had taught him a set of basic dragon fighting technique, and he modified it according to his own moves. When Li Fan closed his eyes, he also entered his own world of consciousness. This was also a peaceful sea of consciousness, but there was a little more content than usual. The flying lion goddess stood there, but the armor on her body had changed. Originally, her armor had a lion's head and a lion's pattern. But now, her armor had become the flying dragon armor, with a dragon's head and a dragon's body. It seemed that he had completely understood the dragon fighting technique, so the flying lion goddess had evolved into the flying dragon goddess. Other than the flying dragon goddess, Li Fan also felt that something was not right. He looked down. In this peaceful sea of consciousness, there was a reflection of himself. The sea of consciousness was very special. There was no reflection. But this time, there was a reflection. This was a little strange. Li Fan looked at his reflection in the sea of consciousness and seemed to understand something. This was the chosen one. He had already merged with him, so the reflection in the sea of consciousness should also be his reflection. Li Fan was about to study it when he suddenly felt as if someone was secretly touching him. Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes and realized that the sky was already dark. The ship floated quietly on the sea, and the entire sky was reflected on the surface of the sea. Xiong Meili was in his arms, looking at him with a lustful smile. Chapter 1209. Xiong Meili was smiling in his arms. Her smile was full of lust. Her hand was still moving around his crotch. "You're provoking me, little girl." Li Fan lowered his voice. He was a little afraid of waking up the captain. The other party saved his life. In the blink of an eye, he was going to have sex with the other party's daughter. Wasn't that a bit inappropriate? But, damn it, who's having sex with whom? Also, is this some kind of badger game? For a moment, countless thoughts flashed through Li Fan's mind. Badger game shouldn't be possible. He wanted to pay, but the captain didn't want it. Badger game and whatnot shouldn't be possible. Li Fan felt that he might be thinking too much. Maybe this little girl stayed in bed for too long and was a little horny. Cough cough, it's on the boat. Especially since spring hasn't passed and now is the season of estrus. It's understandable. Bah, estrus my ass. Humans are not animals. Is there a season for estrus? Don't be afraid. I won't eat you. Xiong Meili winked at Li Fan. But when Li Fan was about to speak, Xiong Meili pressed her finger on his lips. Shoo, don't talk. Be careful not to wake my dad up. Xiong Meili said in Li Fan's ear, at that time, you won't be able to eat me. You're still young. Don't be afraid. It's not my first time. Xiong Meili said. She seemed to be a little impatient. Under the night sky, her hand slowly reached into Li Fan's pants. Li Fan didn't know why. Although this Xiong Meili was not a particularly beautiful woman, she had a unique charm that attracted him. Li Fan couldn't help but want to have something with this Miss Xiong Meili. Dark clouds slowly appeared in the sky. It was as if the stars were shy and were hiding behind the clouds. The small fishing boat swayed with the waves, but it didn't feel the special vibration. He thought that he could easily deal with this girl, but who would have thought that this girl would ask for it 6 or 7 times in a row? When the sky was about to brighten, the two of them hastily ended their battle. Xiong Meili licked her lips and looked at Li Fan as she put on her clothes. Little brother, your stamina is not bad. I didn't misjudge you. I really dote on your future husband. I'm afraid he's going to die young. Li Fan could not help but sigh. I won't marry anyone. Xiong Meili said without hesitation, how happy it is to drift on the sea like this. What a special hobby. Li Fan shook his head. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to see through this woman. Just as Li Fan was pulling up his pants, the captain suddenly rushed out of the cabin. Li Fan was shocked. Was this a trap? Little brother, quickly enter the cabin. The storm is coming. He didn't expect the captain to come out to warn him. He seemed to know his daughter's unique hobbies. He just glanced at her and didn't say anything. I didn't expect them to come so quickly. Xiong Meili raised her head and glanced at the cloudy sky. It was supposed to be dawn, but the thick dark clouds made the sea look like it was still night. Little brother, quickly come in and hide. Before the captain finished speaking, the storm came. Heavy rain poured down, setting off stormy waves on the surface of the sea. This small fishing boat seemed so insignificant on the sea at this moment. A monstrous wave directly lifted the boat up. Before Li Fan could react, he was directly swallowed by the sea. He tried to raise his elemental chi to save the captain and his daughter. But he didn't know why. At this moment, he felt his physical strength was empty. For a moment, he couldn't gather his elemental chi. He was a little flustered in the sea, not understanding what was happening. But at this moment, Li Fan saw Xiong Mei's figure. She swam freely in the sea like a mermaid. She swam in front of him and reached out to hold him. At the same time, she kissed Li Fan's lips. It was as if there was oxygen coming in from her mouth. But Li Fan's consciousness was out of control and slowly sank. Before the darkness enveloped him, Li Fan faintly heard Xiong Mei's voice. In the future, don't ever come to East Sea again. Then, darkness completely enveloped him. When Li Fan woke up, he realized that he was lying on a hospital bed. He was surrounded by white walls. It was very abrupt. And a familiar figure was sitting in front of him, looking at him. It was Dragon Lady. Ah. Why are you here? Before asking me, shouldn't you care about yourself first? Dragon Lady curled her lips. They found you at the port and said that you had been unconscious. I rushed over in a hurry, but I realized that you have quite a lot of luck with women. What do you mean? Li Fan was a little surprised. Could it be that Dragon Lady had discovered that he had a one-night stand with the young lady? Impossible, Dragon Lady wasn't there at that time. Even if she was omnipotent, it was impossible for her to see what happened thousands of miles away, right? Humph. Dragon Lady sniffed, still pretending. You have dragon fragrance on you. Dragon fragrance? What's that? Li Fan was stunned when he heard that. After a dragon copulates, it will emit dragon fragrance. The dragon fragrance on your body is so strong. Obviously, you were pampered by a female dragon in heat, right? Female dragon. What a joke. Li Fan did not believe Dragon Lady at all. She might be lying to him. Aren't you the last Dragon Lady? Since I'm alive, there might be other surviving dragons. According to her own analysis, Dragon Girl said, they might be living as ordinary people were living in seclusion deep in the mountains and forests, reclusive. If you don't believe me, let me ask you. Did you lose your strength after copulating with a girl? Stop pretending. When you copulate with a dragon, your strength will be temporarily sucked away. It will take a short period of time to recover. This is a self-protection method of the dragon race. Because dragons are lascivious by nature, the men and women of the dragon race like to copulate everywhere. No matter what race the other party is, as long as they look pleasing to the eye, they will do it. In order to prevent the other party from attacking them after copulation, the dragon race uses this method to weaken the person they copulate with and ensure that they have a safe time to leave. Fuck. Did I really get fucked by a dragon? Li Fan wanted to cry but no tears came out. No wonder that girl's desire was so strong. She had sucked him clean. Were those women really dragons? Then he was too lucky. He met 3 dragons in a row that others would never see in their entire lives. How was it? Copulating with a dragon, did it feel good? Dragon Lady asked again. There seemed to be some jealousy in her voice. This was the first time. When Li Fan was in the dojo, he also indulged in pleasure every night. Dragon Lady also did not care. To Dragon Lady, she probably had ownership over him. Oh right. That woman. She reminded me not to go to East Sea in the future. What's going on? Li Fan thought of the words he heard before he fainted and hurriedly asked. Chapter 12:10. Li Fan also did not expect that he would be able to spend a night with another dragon girl. It was said that dragons were lustful by nature and could sleep with anyone. Li Fan had seen it for himself. However, this dragon lady in front of him seemed to be an exception. She was only interested in eating and did not seem to have any pursuits in that area. However, Xiong Mei had warned him not to go to the East Sea in the future. What was going on? Li Fan felt a little confused. That goes without saying. The dragon lady curled her lips. The dragon you met should be in a pair with him. You slept with his wife, so he definitely won't let you off. Li Fan suddenly thought of that terrifying rainstorm. Could it be that guy's doing? Li Fan thought about it and could not help but feel a little scared. It seemed that this girl should not sleep around. No matter what, I'm back alive and well. Li Fan wiped his cold sweat. After I return, I'm going into seclusion to cultivate. That's up to you as long as you don't provoke other dragon ladies. Also, you should rest at home and don't go out and mess around. What's wrong? From your tone, it sounds like it's very serious. Li Fan looked at the dragon lady strangely. The dragon lady hesitated again and again, as if she was hiding something from Li Fan. Tell me, is there anything you can't tell me? Alright, I'm worried about your life. My life? Aren't I alive and well? Li Fan was puzzled. What was wrong with the dragon lady today? She was always acting weird. I lied to you about some of the things I told you just now. Which? Dragons are lustful by nature. No, that's true. Then what's fake? The dragon clan can mate with other species, but not with humans. What do you mean? Racial discrimination. Discrimination my ass. In the past, when the dragon race was flourishing, there were dragon ladies who could not bear the loneliness and mated with human men. All the men who mated with dragon ladies died in the end. Are you kidding? Why? Are humans so special? Humans have always been special, Dragon Lady explained. The bodies of dragon race women are different from ordinary human women. When they copulate, they will absorb a large amount of true essence as nourishment for reproduction. When a dragon lady and a human mate, they would definitely give birth to a dragon child. But it's just like the female praying mantis in the legends. The man gives his all and becomes the nutrition for the next generation. The female praying mantis eating the male praying mantis. That's pure nonsense. Whether it's nonsense or not, the logic is the same. I see that you are still alive and kicking, so I think that you might have survived by a fluke. Although I don't know what method you used, at least you survived. Li Fan could not stop his cold sweat. What the hell was this? Was he using his life to hook up? Otherwise, why do you think I've never felt anything for so many years? I put all my attention on eating, so I can more or less make up for the gap in my feelings. Li Fan vaguely remembered that Dragon Lady did not care about the lives of humans, but she respected the laws of nature and never took the initiative to take the lives of others. This is probably a curse. Since ancient times, dragon ladies who fall in love with humans have a tragic fate. Usually, they will pursue whichever man they like. Then they copulate, and the man dies. After dragon ladies give birth, they will also die of a broken heart. Therefore, the elders in the clan explicitly forbid dragon ladies from having feelings for humans. What about dragon males? Li Fan asked. Dragon males do not suck people's essence. They are fooling around and nothing happens to them. No one cares. Dragon Lady said angrily, as if she was very upset. She picked up the apple on the table beside her and took a big bite. Hey, that's my consolation prize. What's yours is mine. Dragon Lady did not stand on ceremony at all. Anyway, be careful these 2 days. If there's anything wrong with your body, tell me immediately. If something really happens, do you have a way to save me? Li Fan said. After all, she was a dragon lady who had lived for thousands of years. She was quite reliable at critical times. No, I need to find the next successor in time. Dragon Lady's words almost angered Li Fan to death. I didn't want to tell you at first, afraid that you would panic. But you just had to ask. Humans are too curious. Hey, is it me who wants to ask? It's clearly your expression. Anyone would be curious, okay? This apple is quite delicious. Do you want to eat it? Li Fan was a little speechless. This woman, she was killing him. Fine, fine, fine. I can't afford to offend you, but I can hide. I'm fine. Go back to G City and prepare for seclusion. Okay, you haven't been back for so long. Everyone misses you. Especially Xiao Ai, she blames herself and keeps saying that she will find a way to make it up to you. It has nothing to do with her. She was just used by the royal guards. Li Fan sneered, when I come out of seclusion, it will be the death of the royal guards. That's not a good idea. They are from an official family. So what if they are from an official family? Don't look down on me, Li Fan. Li Fan had already started to have crooked thoughts. Just watch and see how I completely disintegrate the Imperial Army. Okay, as you wish. Eat the apple. Dragon Lady stuffed an apple into Li Fan's mouth. Li Fan returned to the Seven Heroes Martial Arts School safely. With General Rand's protection, no one dared to touch the Seven Heroes Martial Arts School. Di Wuliang, who had been promoted to a minister cadre, wanted to make trouble for the Seven Heroes Martial Arts School many times. However, the Seven Heroes Martial Arts School was well protected by General Rand's troops, so he had no chance to make a move. He watched Li Fan swagger into the martial arts school and gnashed his teeth in anger. Fortunately, Lord Sima was wise and did not blame him for Li Fan's escape. But recently, Lord Sima is also under great pressure. One Murong Bo, one Li Fan, both of them are thorns in his eyes. If he still wanted to climb up, he naturally had to help him pull out these two poisonous thorns. Li Fan was Di Wuliang's first target. Even if he had to use all his tricks, he would turn Li Fan into ashes. While Di Wuliang was plotting against Li Fan, he did not know that Li Fan was also plotting against him at the same time. At this time, Li Fan had already started his seclusion training. But not long after, the martial arts world in G City suffered a disaster. Young Master Zhonggua, who had a new leg, finally invited the strongest man from the Takeda family in Japan, Takeda Tsuyoshi. The hidden chess piece that Jiang Feng had set up that day finally began to play its role today. Young Master, bad news. Just as Zhonggua was fantasizing about how to beat up Li Fan and take back Lu Wanwan, his bodyguard ran in with a panicked expression, startling a beautiful girl who was sitting on Zhonggua and moving up and down. What's wrong? Say it. Zhonggua was a little annoyed. What if he was disturbed at such a crucial time? Young Master. Mr. Takeda, he's gone. Chapter 12:11. This was Takeda's second visit to China. The last time he came here was about 20 years ago. At that time, he was not the strongest in the island. He followed his master to Huaxia and experienced the martial arts world of Huaxia. In the past, Takeda was also very hot-tempered. To him, the Chinese martial arts world was not worth mentioning. They were just a group of sick men of East Asia. But at that time, he met a guy with the surname Murong. This man, who was about the same age as him, had actually defeated his master. Takeda's arrogant and willful mentality was immediately impacted. He obediently returned to Japan and began to cultivate in seclusion. He only had one goal in mind, and that was to return to Huaxia and defeat the Huaxia experts of the past. Previously, when someone came over and told him that there was a young man in China who had defeated an unparalleled expert, Takeda only smiled and did not take it to heart. He had also been through that age, so he knew the indulgence of that age. Moreover, in Jianghu, the wind was the rain. China's martial arts world was full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. How could a young man be invincible in the world? Later on, there were rumors that this young man had defeated the villa master of Murong Villa. Takeda could no longer sit still. He immediately accepted the invitation and went to Washia. Takeda Tsuyoshi was wearing a loose white martial arts suit. It was the end of spring and the beginning of summer in City G. The weather was already a bit hot. Wearing wooden clogs, he walked on the streets of City G looking at the bustling market. He was not used to living in seclusion on Mount Fuji all year round. Takeda walked like a dragon or a tiger, stepping on the wooden clogs. His footsteps produced a clattering sound. He took 2 or 3 steps forward, grabbed a pedestrian's arm, and asked, "Excuse me, how do I get to the Seven Heroes Martial Arts School?" Takeda's Chinese was very stiff, but it was understandable. "How would I know? Go Baidu yourself." The pedestrian was also a foreigner. There were many foreigners in City G. It was not easy to find someone who was familiar with the way. Baidu. What's that? Takeda kept his hands in his sleeves, unable to understand for a long time. Fortunately, there was a traffic police watchtower not far away. When Takeda Tsuyoshi saw this, he was overjoyed and immediately walked over. A woman's scream came from the street next to them. A Toyota Prado, like crazy, rushed directly to the sidewalk next to it and hit a woman pushing a stroller. The surrounding people were so scared that they closed their eyes, afraid to see a bloody scene. At this moment, Takeda's body suddenly brought along a gust of wind. In an instant, he arrived in front of the Toyota. Then, he raised his right foot high and ruthlessly struck the hood of the car. Boom! The Toyota SUV, which was charging over, paused for a moment. The front of the car caved in, and the rear of the car was lifted more than half a meter high before landing heavily on the ground. It stopped there, and the deformed front of the car was still emitting black smoke. A drunk driver in his 30s, who was drunk like a dog, pushed open the car door, pointed at Takeda, and cursed. "Motherfucker, you stinking idiot, do you know how much my car costs?" Takeda ignored him. He squatted in front of the stroller and looked at the chubby baby in the stroller, laughing and teasing him. "Come, smile for Grandpa." The baby kept laughing and seemed to like Takeda very much. Seeing that Takeda gang was ignoring him, the drunk driver stepped forward to tear Takeda gang apart. At this time, the traffic police had rushed over, subdued the driver, and pressed him to the ground. "What are you doing? Do you know who I am?" This man shouted loudly, and a traffic police came over and expressed his gratitude to Takeda. Although he didn't know how this old man did it, he did prevent a tragedy from happening. "Let me ask you something." Takeda looked at the traffic police very seriously. "What is Baidu?" "Ha!" The traffic police was surprised, thinking, why did this foreign friend ask this? "That's a search engine." "What is a search engine?" Takeda lived in seclusion in Mount Fuji all year round, so he didn't know anything about computers. "It's a search tool." "What's the matter?" "Oh, I want to find the 7 Xia Martial Arts School, they told me to Baidu." Takeda took the opportunity to inquire. 7 Xia Martial Arts School. It should be on the same street as the martial arts school. The traffic police took out a tourist map out of nowhere and pointed, "There are many martial arts schools on this street, you can go here." "Thank you." Takeda bowed to the traffic police, and the traffic police also gave him the map. "I still have something to deal with, you can take your time." The drunk driver was still shouting loudly. "Do you know who I am? If you dare to touch me, believe it or not, I will peel off your skin." The traffic police smiled and said as he stuffed the man into the police car. "Right now, I really want to know who you are. Take him away, let him sober up." These people escorted the drunk driver away, leaving 2 traffic police to deal with the scene. Takeda took the map and continued to look for his 7 Xiao martial arts school. But this famous martial artist of the island was actually lost. When Takeda was busy looking for the martial arts school, a guest came to Li Fan's side. A Japanese woman was sitting in the hall of the martial arts school, waiting to meet Li Fan. She was about 20 years old, with long black hair, beautiful facial features, bright eyes and white teeth, making her lovable. She was wearing a sapphire blue knitted sweater with a white undershirt inside. She was wearing black wide-legged pants, revealing her fair ankles and a pair of clean sneakers. This woman seemed to be a little nervous, as if there was something urgent. After Li Fan came in, she immediately stood up and respectfully bowed to Li Fan, scaring Li Fan. How could there be such etiquette in China? Mr. Li, nice to meet you. Hello, I am Takeda Lon. Takeda. Li Fan had just come out of closed-door training not long ago. He only heard that a girl was looking for him, but he didn't expect it to be someone from the Takeda family. Mr. Li, although it's a little rude, I'll come straight to the point. Please leave City G, huh? When Li Fan heard this, he almost laughed out loud. This beautiful woman turned out to be a lunatic. Mr. Li. Don't misunderstand, I am not driving you away, I just hope that you can leave. This Takeda Lan's Chinese was not bad, judging from her voice, it was almost impossible to tell that she was a Japanese. But her style and attitude still had the demeanor of a Japanese. Leave. Li Fan sat on the chair, picked up the tea prepared by Jiang Yi, and asked slowly. What, is there going to be an earthquake in G City? Mr. Li, don't misunderstand, I have no evil intentions. Takeda Lon kept explaining. Chapter 12:12. Takeda Lon desperately tries to explain to Li Fan, but Li Fan mutters in his heart, Takeda Lon, this name is too close to Takeda Lon. Looking at this beauty in front of him, if she goes down to the sea, she will probably have a lot of fans. However, with the Takeda family background, she will not fall to that step, it is a bit regretful. This person of mine is like this. If you want me to hide, I will not hide. Mr. Li, how can you be like this? I am doing this for your own good. Takeda Lon is a bit anxious, my grandfather is coming soon, he is here to defeat you. This will be a tragedy for both Huaxia and Japan's martial arts world. Oh. Li Fan chuckles as he fiddles with the teacup, why do you say so? My grandfather is Japan's #1 expert, he has always hoped to defeat China's experts. Now that he has come out, he will definitely sweep China's martial arts. Moreover, the Takeda family has already made preparations, after you are defeated, they will attack China's martial arts world in one go, defeating all the Chinese experts. In other words, Japan's martial arts world wants to destroy China's martial arts world. Then why did you come here to tell me, aren't you a spy? How can you be like this? I came to remind you out of goodwill, but you want to ridicule me. My goodwill is taken as ill intent. Then I really have to thank Miss Takeda. Li Fan casually says, first of all, China's martial arts world, it is not Japan's turn to make a move. Secondly, how do you know that I will lose? Although she does not understand the meaning of Li Fan's first sentence, but Takeda Lon can still understand the second sentence. My grandfather is a top expert. You are so young, how can you defeat him? Don't speak so early, we will only know after we fight. Li Fan lightly taps his fingers, perhaps you have good intentions, but don't look down on China's men. I, Li Fan, am a martial artist, anyone who challenges me, I will accept. Don't say that your grandfather is only an expert of the Takeda family, even if he is a Daluo Golden Immortal, when he comes here, I will also treat him with fists and feet. Unreasonable, Takeda angrily stands up, looks like I really did something unnecessary today. Goodbye. With that, the woman walked out of the door. Don't say that. I'm still very grateful to you. Why don't you stay for dinner? Putting aside the martial arts world of the two countries, we can still talk about other friendly things, such as the relationship between a man and a woman. Rascal. Takeda stood at the door, turned around and glared fiercely at Li Fan. By the way, I'm a nurse. I'm working at G University's orthopedic hospital. I'm waiting to help you set your bones. After saying that, the nurse turned around and left. Li Fan, on the other hand, was very happy. This little girl was quite fun to play with. However, Takeda had just come to challenge him, which was interesting. Li Fan had also heard of Takeda's name. It was said that he was the #1 martial artist in Japan. As for how strong it was, Li Fan had no idea. But no matter how strong he was, he couldn't possibly be a martial saint, right? To be honest, in Li Fan's heart, he really did not take the martial arts world of Japan seriously. Right now, he was worried about something else. The Dragon Lady had said that if a man had sex with the Dragon Lady, she would definitely give birth to a son. Although the pregnancy period was very long, it could be 10 or even 20 years. Didn't that mean that 1 year in the future, he would suddenly have another child? Becoming a father. Pfft. He was helping someone else to become a father. That Xiong Mei's husband would hate him so much. No wonder she had warned him not to go to the East Sea. Li Fan felt that he was about to become the public enemy of the country. However, before that, there was one more thing that Li Fan had to deal with. The matter of the royal guards had to be settled as soon as possible. That night, an invitation was sent to Di Wuliang's hands. Di Wuliang looked at the invitation in his hands and frowned. It was an invitation. It invited Di Wuliang to attend a banquet at Li Fan's martial arts center that night. It was written politely. It said that there was a misunderstanding with the royal guards. It hoped that the person in charge of the royal guards in City G, Officer Zhai, could forgive him. Therefore, he specially held a banquet in hopes that Officer Zhai would do him the honor. There were many provinces and cities in China. The branches of the royal guards were also divided according to their ranks. The executive of each province was at the rank of a sergeant. The person in charge of each city was at the rank of a minister. Di Wuliang had achieved many miracles and climbed all the way to this position. However, in terms of rank, he was still a head lower than Li Fan. This was an invitation from his superior. If he did not go, it would not be good. However, what was Li Fan thinking? Did he really want to be on good terms with the royal guards? How was that possible? He had offended Li Fan many times. How forgiving did he have to be in order to forgive him? However, if it was an open and above-board matter, he should not dare to do anything to him. He was a minister-level officer and had a high status in the royal guards. If Li Fan wanted to do anything to him, he would have to think twice. "Sir, are we going tonight?" One of Di Wuliang's subordinates, Huang Jie, asked from the side. He was one of Di Wuliang's sworn brothers in the imperial army, and he served as Di Wuliang's right-hand man. Huang Jie's greatest strength was that he was good at flattering people. Sometimes, it was quite comfortable for Di Wuliang. Once a person had power, he would want someone to flatter him. Even the quick-witted Di Wuliang was no exception after gaining power and influence. "I'm thinking about it." "Sir, your wisdom is unparalleled and you have eyes and ears everywhere. Why are you afraid of Li Fan?" Huang Jie tried his best to flatter Di Wuliang. "I think that Li Fan saw that you have been promoted to a minister-level officer. Is that why he wants to curry favor with you?" "What nonsense are you talking about?" Li Fan is the imperial sword. This position is high and mighty in China. Even if Lord Sima saw him, he would have to call him officer. Ah. Didn't you help Lord Sima to send him to prison? China is a country ruled by law. We only locked him up because we had something on him. But as you can see, just a few days later, he swaggered out and completely destroyed the heavenly prison. Because of this, Lord Sima flew into a rage and said that he would be irreconcilable with Li Fan. Sir, in this world, who can escape from your schemes? Huang Jia continued to flatter, I admire your wisdom. If I had 1/10 of your intelligence, would have been successful long ago. Huang Jia knew how to flatter and he could always do it just right. To deal with Li Fan, it is not enough to just have wisdom. But you must also work hard. Follow me and learn from me. It will be good for you. Yes, yes, yes. Following sir, even if I can get a little bit of talent, it will be very beneficial to me. Don't always flatter me. I don't fall for it. That's right. Sir is upright and outspoken. You never accept flattery from others. On this point, other leaders cannot compare to you. They should all learn from you. Yes, yes. That's right. Chapter 12-13. Di Wuliang thought about it again and again. In the end, he decided to go. Li Fan was his boss. He had no choice but to go. However, Di Wuliang wouldn't go for nothing. He had already arranged 20 thugs to lurk around the martial arts school, waiting for his orders. Once there was any danger, they would immediately charge in and risk their lives to protect their master, saving him. Moreover, if Li Fan dared to make a move on him, then he would be lawless. He could also use this method to arrest Li Fan again. What's the big deal about the Shangfang sword? Even the country's leader can't casually break the law. On the surface, China was still a country ruled by law. Di Wuliang also brought 3 guards with him. They accompanied him into Li Fan's 7 Heroes martial arts school. It was around 8:00 in the evening. The ordinary students in the martial arts school had already gone back. The remaining advanced students were also resting. A banquet was already prepared in the living room. Only Li Fan and Imperial concubine Zhou were sitting there, waiting for Di Wuliang. Hey, little Zhai. Li Fan looked at the 3 guards behind Di Wuliang and couldn't help but laugh, aren't you being too careful? Why do you have to bring 3 subordinates for a meal? Why? Are you afraid that I'll harm you? Li Fan used words to push him, but Di Wuliang's expression didn't change. He cupped his hands at Li Fan, safety first. Sorry for making you laugh. Come, little Zhai. Don't be polite. Sit down and eat. Li Fan reached out his hand, make it your own home. I'm sorry for making you spend so much money. Di Wuliang sat down in a relaxed manner. However, he was still muttering in his heart. This Li Fan was obviously younger than him, but he still called him little Zhai. It was really annoying. However, he was an officer. It didn't matter if he called him that. Come, little Zhai. This is the Mao Tai that I snatched from General Ran. Li Fan picked up a bottle of white wine and pretended to pour it. Drinking white wine was different from drinking beer. Mug after mug of beer, he emptied the bottle when he was impatient. However, white wine had to be tasted, so the wine glasses in front of the 3 of them were all small wine glasses. They were exquisite and unique, and each glass was less than 1 tael. It was just right. Not only could he enjoy the taste of good wine, but he wouldn't drink too much and burn his stomach. You and our imperial concubine Zhou also have some misunderstanding. Let's drink a cup of wine today. As the saying goes, it's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. Li Fan didn't have time to pour the wine for Di Wuliang, and Di Wuliang quickly stopped Li Fan. Ayaya, you are the leader. How can I let you pour wine for a little subordinate like me? Moreover, white wine is harmful to the liver. If you drink too much, it won't be good for your body. A while ago, I got a few bottles of Royal Salute from overseas. Although it's not a particularly high-class bar, it's definitely authentic. Xiao Huang, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and pour wine for the leader. What do I usually teach you? Hey, he's here. Huang Jia, who was standing at the side, heard this and walked over with an exquisite bottle of Royal Salute in his hand. Leader, have a taste of this. Di Wuliang's words were polite, but in fact, Li Fan knew what he was thinking. This kid was really sneaky. He even brought his own wine. When it was time to eat later, if this kid took out some chicken feet or pig trotters from his pocket, that would be really amazing. However, Di Wuliang was still too inexperienced. I think it's better to drink white wine. Li Fan pretended to be very regretful. Di Wuliang quickly picked up the Royal Salute personally and was about to pour wine for Li Fan. This small wine cup is suitable for drinking white wine. Li Fan emphasized. It's fine, leader. I've prepared everything for you. Di Wuliang ordered the guard to take out a few clean goblets. Not bad, the preparation was really complete. Even the goblets had to be used from his own. It was really safety first. Li Fan couldn't stop Di Wuliang. Di Wuliang had already poured wine for the three of them. Xiao Di, how about this? Why don't we not eat this meal? Did you also bring your own? Li Fan sneered and asked. Leader, don't be angry. I'm just letting you drink some good wine. I can't even bear to drink these bottles of Royal Salute myself. I specially brought them to show my filial piety to you. Besides, the focus today is not on eating. I'm also drinking to apologize to you. I've brought enough wine. Today, I'll drink as much as the leader wants me to drink. How about this, I'll punish myself with a bottle first. As he spoke, he grabbed a bottle of Royal Salute and stuffed it into his mouth. Dong, dong, dong. Di Wuliang drank the bottle of red wine in a few gulps and then wiped his mouth. Leader, I'll drink. You can do as you please. Forget it. Xiao Di is just following orders. Imperial concubine Zhou sat next to him. Her voice was a little elegant. It seemed that she was speaking up for Di Wuliang. Let's not make things difficult for him. In the future, we'll all be in the same territory. We can't help each other. Yes, yes, yes. Imperial concubine Zhou is right. After all, he's a martial arts master. His realm is indeed different. I toast you. As he spoke, Huang Jia had already cleverly filled his cup with wine. Di Wuliang didn't hesitate and drank the entire cup. After he finished, he turned the cup upside down. It was empty. There wasn't a single drop of wine. All right, sit down. Let's drink and talk. Li Fan could only sigh and sit down. Di Wuliang heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. It seemed that he had blocked Li Fan's plan. However, the drinking session was still going on. He still had to be more careful. He didn't want to fall into Li Fan's trap. This brat looked young and harmless, but he was actually very black-bellied. The three of them toasted each other and drank quite a bit. However, Di Wuliang was also a person with a high alcohol tolerance. Moreover, he had the dragon chip to strengthen his body. A little bit of alcohol was nothing to him. However, halfway through the drinking session, Di Wuliang felt that Imperial concubine Zhou, who was sitting opposite him, was very beautiful. Why was this woman as beautiful as a painting? Her bright eyes and white teeth made people want to take a bite out of her. Beautiful, really too beautiful. This kind of woman, sleeping with her for a night would be worth it even if I had to live 10 years less. This bratly fan really had good luck with women. This woman, why was she like a fairy, that pair of long legs, white and straight? I really want to carry them and go to her mysterious place to play. Why was she smiling at me? Could it be that she had taken a fancy to me and wanted to spend a night with me? Most likely, this bratly fan's lower body wasn't good enough to satisfy this imperial concubine. Imperial concubine, come, let me toast you. Di Wuliang stood up and walked in front of Imperial concubine Zhou. He held the wine cup. There was a misunderstanding before. I hope you don't mind. How could I? It's all in the past. Imperial concubine Zhou stretched out her small white hand and also held the wine cup. Her face was slightly flushed. She gently pulled down her collar. This wine is a bit hot. Chapter 12-14. Di Wuliang's eyes were hooked as he stared at Imperial concubine Zhou's chest. He felt that his body was burning hot and his lower body was already puffing out his chest. Why are you looking at this consort like this? Do you want to eat this consort? Imperial concubine Zhou's words were like a bolt from the blue. Di Wuliang couldn't bear it anymore. He threw himself onto Imperial concubine Zhou's body and tore her clothes. At the same time, he kissed Imperial concubine Zhou's red lips. Good boy. Li Fan was furious. He stood up and sent Di Wuliang flying with a kick. Although Di Wuliang was a master of the Prime Minister level, how could he withstand Li Fan's kick? He was directly kicked upside down, like a kite with a broken string. With a bang, he hit the wall behind him like a hanging picture, unable to get down for a long time. Motherfucker, I entertained you well. How dare you have ideas about my woman? Li Fan's figure was like a bolt of lightning. In an instant, he arrived in front of Di Wuliang. He stretched out his hand and with a few cracking sounds, Di Wuliang's arms and legs were broken. Di Wuliang let out a blood-curdling screech, and lay limply on the ground. He had turned into a cripple. That bit of heat in his body had disappeared. Now, all that was left was incomparable pain and fear. Sir Li. You can't. The surrounding guards were also stunned. Everything happened too fast. Just a moment ago, he was witty and cautious. How did he suddenly become a pervert? In the blink of an eye, Di Wuliang was crippled by Li Fan. He was lying on the ground with tears streaming down his face. Huang Jia stood at the side and didn't say a word. Another guard foolishly stepped forward to stop him. However, he was slapped away by Li Fan. Motherfucker, how dare you rape a woman? Even if I kill you, it would be a light punishment. Ho ho ho. You have to help this consort. Imperial concubine Zhou wiped her tears. If those who knew Imperial concubine Zhou saw this, they would definitely be shocked. Bang! At this moment, the door was suddenly kicked open. Dozens of royal guards rushed in with weapons in hand. Li Fan was not surprised at all. Instead, he clapped his hands in excitement. You've come just in time. Capture this guy for me. Li Fan pointed at Di Wuliang, who was lying on the ground. These royal guards were all stunned. What was going on? It seemed to be different from what they had agreed on. This brat dares to molest my woman. I crippled him. If it wasn't for me abiding by the law, I would have killed him long ago. You guys, capture him. Imperial concubine Zhou, don't cry. Don't you have a lawyer? Call him, I want to sue this bastard. He must be punished by the law. The surrounding people looked at Li Fan cursing there and did not dare to step forward. Di Wuliang was crippled, and the situation had changed. They had no way of controlling the situation, and they were a little stunned. Before they could react, police sirens sounded outside. Obviously, someone had called the police. The royal guards were like a group of dragons without a leader. The police came and went quickly. Soon, Di Wuliang was taken away. The rest of the royal guards could only follow them and leave, but Li Fan stopped Wang Jia. "What's your name?" Li Fan asked Wang Jia. Replying to Lord, "This little one is Huang Jia." Huang as in Huang, outstanding Jia. Oh, the meaning of a hero among men. Good name. Li Fan gestured. Jiang Yi walked out from an unknown corner and closed the door. At the same time, she walked over and searched Huang Jia's body before taking away his phone. "Lord. You are..." Huang Jia was a little confused. He was slightly frightened. "Huang Jia, do you want to be promoted and get rich?" Li Fan retracted the anger on his face. He suddenly became very calm and asked the royal guards in front of him. "See, Lord. I don't understand, there are no outsiders here. Everyone can speak frankly." Li Fan looked at Huang Jia and said seriously, "There is no need for me to joke with a pawn. Let me ask you, do you want to be promoted and get rich?" "Of course I do, it's good that you do." Li Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. "Right now, there is a road to promotion and get rich for you. Let's see how you choose." "Choose?" "Yes, one is to be promoted and get rich. The other is to die without a complete corpse." Li Fan's words were like a dagger that pierced deeply into Huang Jia's heart, causing him to shiver. "That Di Wuliang has some weight. But you are just a pawn. Even if you disappear from the face of the earth, the royal guards would not care." "See, Lord. You are right. I am just a pawn. Please don't kill me and dirty your hands." Huang Jia immediately cried. He did not want to die. He had not lived a good life. "What are you crying for? Isn't there still a road to promotion and get rich?" Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. "I am a very democratic person. Isn't this giving you a chance to choose? Is there a choice?" Huang Jia was already well aware of it. "Lord, if you have anything to say, just say it. This little one promises to do it. Di Wuliang is already crippled." Li Fan said. "He tried his best but was still unable to escape from the palm of my hand. He thought that I would not dare to touch him. What a joke. Who does he think he is? Even if I really kill him, Sima Hui would not dare to do anything to me. You are a pawn and he is a big pawn. If he dies, Sima Hui would at most give him a pension." Huang Jia also understood the logic behind these words. To Sima Hui, Di Wuliang was just a small pawn. Keeping him alive could allow him to cross the river. Even if he died, it was not worth it. As for himself, he had no value at all. Di Wuliang is done for, but you have a chance to climb up. Li Fan said, "In my hands, I can provide you with a few escort routes. Find a chance to investigate it and exchange it for a road to promotion." These few escort routes were not used by Li Fan. It was good to exchange them for some benefits. After all, waste could be reused. He only needed to send a few clever escorts over to take a look. "You, helping me like this, what do you want from me?" "I want you to be my informant." Li Fan said, "The royal army is a thorn in my side, but as a government department, I have no way to uproot them. Therefore, I need an informant to constantly provide me with insider information about the royal army, so that I will not be blind." Why do you like me? Huang Jia was a little panicked, but at the same time, he felt an inexplicable excitement. Because you are very greedy. Li Fan said truthfully, I see a strong desire in your eyes. This is the driving force of human progress. Therefore, I need you. How about it, as long as you help me, you can be promoted and get rich. If you don't help me, even if I don't kill you, you will only be a cannon fodder in the royal army. Sooner or later, you will be sacrificed. Therefore, choose. Chapter 12-15. The reason why Li Fan chose to instigate Huang Jia to defect was because he had suffered several times due to the lack of information. Whether it was Imperial Consort Zhou's disappearance or Murong's search for her daughter, they were all caused by Di Wuliang. As the saying goes, it's easy to dodge a spear in the open, but hard to guard against a stab in the dark. He had to plant an informant in the Imperial Army to help him find out key information. It was probably impossible to instigate the higher-ups of the Imperial Army. But it was much easier for a pawn like Huang Jia. They had no sense of loyalty to the Imperial Army. Most of them were just trying to make a living. As long as he threw the bait, they would obediently take the bait. Li Fan was not afraid that Huang Jia would betray him. Even if he did, Li Fan would not lose anything. It was just losing a pawn. But for Huang Jia, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As long as he was smart, he would seize this opportunity. Sure enough, as Li Fan expected, Huang Jia agreed to Li Fan's instructions and went back happily. Di Wuliang tried his best but still failed to escape from Li Fan's trap. In fact, Li Fan's plan was the skinny man's rotten idea. Previously, Li Fan racked his brains and did not know how to deal with Di Wuliang. The skinny man inadvertently mentioned using a honey trap, but it was directly rejected by Li Fan. Which of his own women was willing to be used as bait? But Imperial Consort Zhou later took the initiative to volunteer. This famous Imperial Consort Zhou, in addition to being proficient in divine martial arts, also learned some bewitching techniques. With the help of a little alcohol, a unique aura, and a little psychological suggestion, she could make a man go crazy for her. This bewitching technique was not new. Most of it had the effect of hypnosis. For people like Di Wuliang, he was very vigilant. But a little alcohol and confidence could make him put down all his defenses. Di Wuliang was too conceited. He believed that there was a problem with the wine. This was right, he guessed correctly. However, what Li Fan used was a series of tricks. Even if he changed the wine, as long as he touched the alcohol and looked into Imperial Concubine Zhou's eyes, as well as some psychological hints from Imperial Concubine Zhou, he would be able to completely destroy all of his psychological defenses. By the time he woke up, he had already been crippled by Li Fan. Li Fan didn't kill him because not dying was more painful than dying. Di Wuliang went back and stayed in the hospital for a while. Just as he recovered a little, his dragon chip was destroyed and he was thrown into the detention center. The court charged him with attempted rape, and the process went very quickly. The evidence was irrefutable. There was a camera in the living room that captured everything. Moreover, the food at the scene had also been tested, and there were no aphrodisiacs. Di Wuliang was in despair as he was locked up in the detention center. He knew that no matter how hard he tried, he still fell into Li Fan's trap. He was already a useless chess piece. Sima Hui probably wouldn't save him. He would just wait for him to slowly die from the stench in prison. Go, squat beside the toilet. There was a leader in every cell, who was in charge of the entire cell. He slept in the best bed, but let Di Wuliang squat beside the toilet to sleep. Di Wuliang's hands and feet were crippled, and he was no different from a disabled person. Even if he wanted to fight, he didn't have the ability. A wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. Di Wuliang squatted beside the toilet, enduring the stench, and tried to keep himself optimistic and not completely desperate. Once he was completely desperate, there would really be no chance for a comeback. A prisoner just stood up and stood next to Di Wuliang. He took off his pants and began to pee. The stench almost made Di Wuliang vomit. Especially since the urine was everywhere, some of it splashed on Di Wuliang's body. Clean it. After the prisoner finished peeing, he kicked Di Wuliang to remind him. Di Wuliang endured his anger and began to clean the toilet. At this time, the door of the detention center opened. Generally speaking, if there were guests in the detention center, the prisoner would definitely be asked to go to the reception room. But this time was an exception. Huang Jia, wearing an Imperial Guard uniform, walked into the detention center. Seeing him, Di Wuliang's eyes flashed with the light of hope. Ayaya! Isn't this Lord Di? Why are you cleaning the toilet? Huang Jia looked at Di Wuliang and covered his nose, as expected of Lord Di. Even in the detention center, you are still so diligent. You are truly a role model. Are you here to humiliate me? Di Wuliang's conscience was completely cold. He looked at Huang Jia with the appearance of a villain intoxicated by success. How could that be? Back then, it was Lord Di who promoted me. In my heart, I am filled with gratitude towards Lord Di. As a matter of fact, Lord Sima has given the order. No one else came, but I personally came to pass the message to Lord Di. I am afraid that Lord Di doesn't know about it. Then I will have to trouble you. Di Wuliang sneered. How could that be? This is what I should do. It was not in vain to work under Lord Di. Huang Jia said in a strange tone, and then told Di Wuliang about Sima Hui's order. Lord Sima said to properly reform here and strive to be released as soon as possible. Although you did something wrong and tarnished the organization's reputation. But considering your meritorious service, you were given 100,000 yuan as a pension. But after a lot of effort, I found that Lord Di doesn't have any relatives. So, I'll keep the money for you for now, Master Zhai. It's only 100,000 yuan. You can keep it to spend. Di Wuliang sighed. Actually, I have a younger brother. During the time I was in the Imperial Army, I also earned some money. It's about 1,000,000 yuan. In order to save a way out for myself, I exchanged it for gold and hid it. I don't think I have the time to come out. Help me tell him to dig out the gold and buy some property for himself. When I get out, I will have something to do. Sigh, Lord Di is really far-sighted. Huang Jia was a little excited. Lord Di, this gold. Where did you hide it? There are too many people here. Come closer. Di Wuliang lowered his voice, and Huang Jia immediately moved his ear closer. At this moment, Di Wuliang suddenly became ruthless and bit off Huang Jia's ear. Huang Jia held the bloody side of his face and screamed in pain. The other prisoners in the prison were also shocked. This kid was too ruthless. Ha 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 ha. You deserve it. You deserve it. Huang Jia, who the hell do you think you are? Without me, you're just a pile of dog shit. Di Wuliang laughed heartily with his mouth full of blood. He looked at Huang Jia and cursed to his heart's content. Di Wuliang. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Huang Jia endured the pain. He wanted to kill Di Wuliang, but the prison guards had already rushed in. They subdued Di Wuliang on the spot and pressed him to the side of the toilet. Just you wait. I will let you know that without you, I, Huang Jia, can still get promoted and get rich. Kid, you're bragging. I'm waiting to visit your grave. Di Wuliang's throat-tearing curses could be faintly heard. Chapter 12-16. The problem with the royal guards had been solved for now. Di Wuliang was a very good opponent, but also a very scary one. After Li Fan got him off the stage, he felt much more at ease. The newly appointed Prime Minister of City Ji was also very careful. He knew that Li Fan was not someone to be trifled with. No one wanted to end up like Di Wuliang. Li Fan had achieved the effect he wanted. He was notorious now. Everyone in the royal guards avoided him when they saw him. But while some people avoided him, some people came to find him. It was said that all the martial arts clubs in City G had been in trouble recently. An old man from Japan had been challenging them. He said that he was looking for Li Fan's 7 Heroes Martial Arts Club, but he ended up challenging all the other martial arts clubs. These martial arts clubs were about to cry. It was really humiliating to be challenged by an old man from Japan. Someone from a martial arts club offered to drive the old man to the 7 Heroes Martial Arts Club, but the old man refused. Takeda was also angry. How could he not find the 7 Heroes Martial Arts Club? He was not a direction idiot. He would definitely find it. Anyway, Li Fan heard that several martial arts clubs in Foshan had been challenged by Takeda. What? Sick. Li Fan was training several disciples in the martial arts club when he suddenly received a call from Lu Xiaowan. Zhao Yingjun was hospitalized. It had only been a few days since school started. How did he end up in the hospital? Xiaohu, take good care of them. I'm going out. Since one of his roommates was in the hospital, Li Fan had to go and see him. He told his eldest disciple to look after the house, and then left the house. Li Fan didn't like to take a car. As a martial artist, he preferred to do what he preached. He walked to the orthopedic hospital. With his leg strength, the 1-hour journey was shortened to 20 minutes. It was not good to go there empty-handed, so Li Fan bought some fruits downstairs and went upstairs to visit Zhao Yingjun. It was human nature to grow old and die of illness. Therefore, the hospitals in this big city almost never had a moment to rest. Li Fan entered the hospital. There was an endless stream of people coming and going to see the doctor and register. The smell of disinfectant entered his nose, and his ears were filled with the cries of family members. Li Fan didn't like this place very much. Although the hospital was a place to treat the sick and save people, there was always an atmosphere of despair. Li Fan carried the fruits up to the 3rd floor and arrived at Zhao Yingjun's ward. It was said to be a ward, but in fact, it was not a ward at all. In the corridor of the hospital, there was a bed. Zhao Yingjun's arm was in a cast, and he was lying on the bed in a daze. Li Fan had come, but he didn't know. He seemed to be sleeping soundly. Second brother, you're here. Wang Yang and Xiang were both there. When the two of them saw Li Fan, their eyes lit up. Why are you sleeping here? Li Fan couldn't help but frown when he saw the environment. There's no other way. It's overcrowded, so I can only set up a bed outside. The boss sighed, this is not bad. Many people can't even make it to the hospital bed. We only managed to squeeze out a bed because we were in a hurry for an operation. We just finished the operation and had a steel plate, so the anesthesia hasn't worn off yet. How did this happen? Li Fan asked, why did his arm break all of a sudden? Did someone beat him up? I'm going to take revenge for third brother. No one beat him up. Xiang's face was red, and he was too embarrassed to say it. Wang Yang explained at the side, and Li Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was leaning on the window of the girls' bathroom and fell down. Li Fan was speechless. This Zhao Yingjun was too cocky. It's spring, but he shouldn't be this thirsty. Li Fan didn't know what to say, but Wang Yang pulled his sleeve. Second brother, you came at the right time. Help me pay for the medical expenses first. Hey, is the money not enough? Wang Yang was naturally more embarrassed, and Xiang was also too embarrassed to ask. Although he had a lot of pocket money, he had just bought a set of VR equipment this month, and all his pocket money was spent. Okay, it's a small matter. Leave it to me. Li Fan hurriedly stood up, but the floor of the hospital seemed to have just been wiped. It was very smooth. Li Fan's knees actually went soft, his feet were empty, and he directly fell to the ground with a flop. Second brother, are you okay? The shouts of his brothers rang in his ears. Li Fan waved his hand. He was about to stand up, but he felt that his left calf had lost feeling, and it wouldn't listen to his commands. Li Fan felt a chill in his heart. This was a sign of a fracture. But as a martial artist and a half-saint expert, how could he have a fracture? The words of the dragon lady faintly echoed in his mind. After having sex with the female dragon clan, most of his nutrients were sucked away. But he had been in seclusion for so long, and there was no reaction. Could it be that the effects were only starting to show now? Li Fan broke out in a cold sweat. He was worried that he would leave behind some sequelae. If there was another case of osteochondrosis, then he would be finished. His left calf seemed to be bleeding internally, and Li Fan's vision was slightly black. Fortunately, this was a hospital. His two dormitory brothers were in a hurry, and they found a doctor for Li Fan. After a series of examinations, the final conclusion was that Li Fan's left calf was comminuted. Another hospital bed was added to the corridor. Li Fan looked at his brother Zhao Yingjun lying beside him, and then looked at his calf that was hung up. His heart ached. He had dominated the pugilistic world, but when did he end up like this? Although the chosen one's genes could heal wounds, it required absorbing other people's flesh and blood. Li Fan didn't want to do that. Zhao Yingjun slowly woke up, and when he saw Li Fan lying next to him, he was stunned. Second brother, you also went to the women's bathhouse. Fuck you, I was in a hurry to pay for your medical expenses. I fell. Li Fan was furious. This Zhao Yingjun, he didn't even care about him when he woke up. Instead, he said such immoral words. People will always fall sick. I guess it was just a momentary injury just now. Wang Yang was still comforting Li Fan. Second brother, don't worry and recuperate here. Money is not a problem. Rest well. Li Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Of course, money was not a problem. He paid for it himself. Li Fan. Just as Li Fan was about to complain, a familiar fragrance suddenly wafted into his nose. Li Fan turned his head and saw a beautiful nurse standing next to him. When Zhao Yingjun, the perverted devil, saw her, his eyes immediately popped out. Miss Takeda, this was none other than Takeda Lan, who came looking for him a few days ago. Seeing her in the hospital, Li Fan was extremely embarrassed. With his current appearance, wouldn't she mock him to death? Unexpectedly, Takeda Lan only checked Li Fan's injury and then said, the medical report is out. Your attending doctor said you have a serious calcium deficiency. After you recover, supplement more calcium. The nurse gave him a bunch of instructions, and Li Fan was a little stunned. You don't have anything else to say? Chapter 12-17. What are you talking about? Takeda Lan looked at Li Fan with a serious expression. This little girl's face was quite good-looking. Especially the nurse uniform, the uniform wrapped around a pair of beautiful long legs, causing one's imagination to run wild. With such a beautiful nurse in the hospital, it could be considered as adding a touch of color to the hospital. Here, I am the nurse and you are the patient. Takeda Lan looked at Li Fan's medical record again. Rest well, I will be responsible for you in the future. Ah. When Li Fan heard this, he was a bit dazed. Although Takeda Lan looked like a very righteous little girl, Li Fan still faintly felt that something was wrong. Ma Dan, mantis shrimp, let's go. Li Fan sighed in his heart. It was a pity that he only had thoughts but not the ability to take action. He also did not want to tell the dojo about this, it was too embarrassing. If they knew that he was hospitalized because of a bone fracture, they would laugh their heads off. The dignified little overlord of the martial arts world, the Golden Escort, the leader of the Seven Knights sect, was actually hospitalized because of a calcium deficiency today. Damn it. Resigned to fate, Li Fan sent a message to Jiang Yi, saying that he had something to do and would be back in a few days. Although it was a bone fracture, he was still stronger than ordinary people. It probably wouldn't take long for his body to recover. This matter must not be known by others. I will be obedient and recuperate. There are so many patients here, Miss Takeda better go back to work. I will come back to see you later. Takeda Lan still had that serious expression, turned around and left. Li Fan laid on the hospital bed, his hands in a circle, letting the elemental energy in his body slowly circulate. If he wanted his body to recover, he would need to circulate it for at least a small cycle. This small cycle was only a day's time. No matter what, he had to endure this day first. However, the air in the hospital was not very good. He heard that he still had to undergo surgery on his calf tomorrow, inserting a steel plate or something to stabilize the calf bones, allowing them to develop healthily again. You two brothers can lie down. You keep an eye on the direction, I will go out and buy some big bones for them. Wang Yang pretended to be generous. How can I not give a single cent when second brother pays for the medical fees? I'll buy this big bone, don't fight with me for it. As he spoke, he touched his pocket, and his face stiffened. Oh my God, how could I forget to bring money with me when I go out? Li Fan glared at him. This stingy fellow, don't tell me that he even wants to pay for the consolation items out of his own pocket. Use mine, I still have some left. Xiang Dong quickly took out 200 yuan and handed it to Wang Yang. Okay, I'm going to buy some big bones. Direction, take good care of them. I'll be back soon. With other people's money, Wang Yang happily went to buy some consolation items. Li Fan was lying on the bed, looking in the direction, and couldn't help but ask. Direction, your monthly allowance is at least 10 or 20,000, right? What kind of equipment do you need to buy that costs so much? Yeah, a VR set isn't expensive. Xiang Dong hurriedly explained, I bought a set from Hong Kong, and it cost about 6,000. But there's not enough space in the dormitory. If I want to play, I need an empty room. You're not trying to say that you rented a house off campus, are you? Second brother really guessed it. Xiang Dong was a little shy. I rented a small loft, and the living room downstairs can be used as a VR game room. This way, I can play more happily. Then you're moving out too. Yeah. Xiang Dong nodded. If you don't live in the dormitory, there's no point in living in the dormitory. Third brother goes out to pick up girls every day, and eldest brother also joined some supernatural society to read people's fortunes every day. He doesn't have time to care about me. It feels like this dormitory has broken up. Don't say that. It's fate that we met, and we've always been brothers. Look, something happened, and now we're all together again. Sister nurse, my hand is a little uncomfortable. Can you please give me a massage? Li Fan was chatting happily with Xiang Dong. He looked at Xiao Yingjun, who was flirting with the nurse, making the nurse frown. Li Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He felt that this injury was really funny. Sure enough, it's not easy to be a dragon knight. Riding him for a whole hour was a huge loss of vitality. Wang Yang went out for a whole hour before returning with a bowl of bone soup. The four of them shared the bone soup. At night, Xiang Dong and Wang Yang went back to school. There were nurses in the hospital, and it wasn't like Li Fan and Zhao Yingjun couldn't take care of themselves. With two people supporting them, they could still move normally. However, Zhao Yingjun was slightly better off, but Li Fan was miserable. One of his feet was still being held, and it was really difficult for him to do anything. Moreover, he was still in the recovery stage, so it was best for him to lie here and recuperate. Li Fan fell asleep in the afternoon. Although his ears were filled with the noise of the hospital, Li Fan seemed to really need to recover, so he slept especially well. When he woke up, it was already night time. At night, Li Fan felt that his leg was a little better. At least, he had regained some feeling and could feel pain. It was a good thing that he could feel pain. If he couldn't feel pain, it meant that there must be something wrong with his body's functions. To be able to recover so much in one afternoon, it proved that he was still in the recovery stage. Although it was a little slow, it was still far faster than ordinary people. Probably, it wouldn't take long for him to recover 70 to 80%. However, in the middle of the night, Li Fan suddenly had the urge to pee. But at this time, the nurse wasn't around. He turned to look at Zhao Yingjun. It seemed that he had spent a lot of energy teasing the nurse during the day, so he slept like a dead pig, snoring loudly. Li Fan called him a few times, but he didn't wake up. Motherfucker. I can't count on him at this critical moment. Li Fan had no choice. He tried to stand up on his own, but he couldn't use any strength in his left leg. Whenever he moved, he felt intense pain. This is too fucked up. Am I going to pee my pants? Li Fan wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Just when he was at his wit's end, the nurse, Takeda Lan, came over and went straight to Li Fan's side. She gave something to Li Fan. What is this? Urinal. Li Fan was a little embarrassed. At this time, should he use it, or not? It's been a day, and you haven't peed. You've been injected with glucose. You should pee immediately. Takeda Lan said to Li Fan in a serious manner, hurry up and use it. It's not good for a man to hold back his urine. I'm not that useless. Li Fan's self-esteem rose. I don't need the urinal, I'll do it myself. With that, he picked up his hanging leg and put it on the floor. Then, he used his hands to support himself on the bed and was about to stand up, but Takeda Lan stopped him. What are you doing? Chapter 12:18. I'm going to the toilet. Can't I? When Li Fan spoke, he was a little angry. You can urinate, but you can't walk. Takeda Lan reminded him, your calf has a comminuted fracture. You can't move it casually. Be careful of dislocation and it will cause a lifelong disability. You're a girl. Can you not open your mouth and pee? Li Fan was very uncomfortable. I still have self-control. I can't pee on your bed. It doesn't matter if you wet the bed. There are all kinds of patients in the hospital. Some even pee on the bed. What's wrong with me? You're a man. Why are you acting like a woman? Takeda Lan rolled her eyes at Li Fan. You're a patient now. I'm a nurse. Everything I do is for you. Anyway, I don't need a urinal. I want to go to the toilet. Li Fan's self-esteem was haunted. He refused to use a urinal no matter what. I'm not watching you urinate. Why are you so nervous? You can urinate slowly. Don't worry. I still have the next ward to check. That's not necessary. I won't suffocate to death. What's there to be afraid of? Li Fan's temper flared up. I want to see if my prostate can explode from holding it in. A man can't be a coward. What's there to be angry about? You're the one who feels uncomfortable. Takeda Lan was very helpless. But she had worked in the hospital for a long time and had experience. Then you sit here and don't move. Wait for me for a minute. I'll be right back. What if I move? Well, you haven't informed your family yet. I'll help you inform them. I won't move, okay, I'll be right back. With that, Takeda Lan turned around and left. In less than a minute, she pushed a wheelchair from the nurse's station not far away and walked in front of Li Fan. Then, Takeda Lan squatted down and inserted her hands under Li Fan's armpits. She gently helped him up. This Takeda Lan obviously practiced martial arts. Her strength was not small. Li Fan was weak now and could only be manipulated by her. Takeda Lan carefully placed Li Fan on the wheelchair. There was a bracket under the wheelchair that supported Li Fan's calf. Sit down, I'll push you to the toilet. Alright, Li Fan also had no choice. When this Takeda Lan became overbearing, he was also at his wit's end. After all, this was a hospital. It was their territory. They just had to be obedient. Li Fan was pushed by Takeda Lan to the other end of the corridor. The inpatient department was much quieter at night. It was not as noisy as it was during the day. It was not the same in the outpatient department. It was noisy, making people feel irritated. I say, Miss Takeda, now that I'm in your hands, do you really not have any thoughts? What do you think? You're a patient. Do you think I can kill you? Takeda Lan's voice carried a hint of ridicule. You martial artists are all stubborn. You are like this, and so is Grandpa. He's been lost for several days. I don't know where he is now. Oh, he's in Foshan. Li Fan shared his information. A Hongquan dojo in Foshan was kicked by him. There are many more over there. It's estimated that he'll kick them for a while. What's the point of fighting back and forth? Takeda Lan was slightly dissatisfied. You hit me, I hit you. My body will be injured. I can't stand this kind of mutual injury. That's why I chose to quit martial arts and become a doctor. Then why didn't you choose to be a doctor? Why did you choose to be a nurse? Doctors save people. Nurses take care of people. Grandpa said that since I was a child, I liked to take care of others. That's why I chose to be a nurse. This reason, as long as you're happy. Do you have prejudice against nurses? Nurses earn less. Takeda Lan seemed a little angry. Your thinking has fallen. We're all angels in white, we're all saving lives. What's the difference between a doctor and a nurse? Why use money to measure it? Yes. Miss Takeda, I was rude. I'm sorry. Forget it. You're injured now. Your mood is unstable. I shouldn't have gotten angry with you. Takeda Lan said, stopped the wheelchair, then stood in front of Li Fan and bowed deeply to him. Please forgive me. Hey, I'm not angry with you. We were just discussing the matter. Li Fan also sighed. For Miss Takeda, money may indeed be nothing. After all, the Takeda family is a big business. But for many ordinary people, a penny can drive a hero to death. If we want to enrich our material life, that's the primary goal of everyone's struggle. Yes, you're right. I was a little extreme just now. However, after I studied nursing, I left the country and came to China to live. Here, I also rely on my own part-time work to study. I didn't spend a penny from my family. Fuck, this girl is so brave. Every day, seeing so many people injured and listening to their painful moans, I really feel sorry for them. So, if China's Wulin is going to have a catastrophe, I hope to contribute my meager strength and help a little. Miss Takeda is really kind. Li Fan's voice trembled slightly. He couldn't hold it anymore. Here we are. Takeda-lan pushed Li Fan directly into the bathroom. It was so late, and there was no one else in the bathroom. Takeda-lan helped Li Fan up and carefully helped him into the single room. The two people were so close that Li Fan could clearly smell the fragrance from Takeda-lan's body. However, this toilet full of urine smell was really not a good place to taste the fragrance. Next, I can do it myself. Li Fan said that if he helped again, he would be helping his brother. I'll help you take off your pants. Takeda-lan said, and her hand fell on the waist of Li Fan's pants. Li Fan was almost scared out of his wits. Fuck, what is she going to do? This is absolutely not allowed. Why are you so shy? It's inconvenient for you to move. I'm just helping you take off your pants. Miss Takeda. Men and women should not touch each other. You'd better go out. Li Fan was not particularly familiar with Takeda-lan. Although he was quite open in bed with Lu Wan-en and imperial concubine Zhou, after all, they were not sharing a pillow. If you're embarrassed, you can close your eyes. Fuck, how can I pee with my eyes closed? Aren't you afraid that I will pee in your mouth? Li Fan regretted it after saying it. It was a little too much. He was used to joking with people, so he said it casually. Takeda-lan was silent for a moment. She was really serious about work. Please don't joke. Now everything is about your health. With that, Takeda-lan pulled off Li Fan's pants. Please urinate. Don't mind me. Just pretend that I don't exist. Chapter 12-19. Li Fan was filled with grief and indignation. A hero has a weakness for the charms of a beautiful woman. Bah, this sentence is not suitable now. It should be a hero in trouble. I am a hero of my generation, but today I am reduced to letting a woman take off his pants to pee. Although Li Fan was indignant, he could not control his bladder. Especially when his pants were taken off, a cool breeze blew, and the pee was overwhelming. He turned on the small green soccer ball in the urinal and opened the water door. The sound was very loud, and Li Fan slightly blushed. It's okay, the loud sound is proof of health. Behind him, although Takeda-lan was facing Li Fan's buttocks, she seemed to have accurately grasped his thoughts and comforted him. Li Fan said, "Of course I am healthy. I can do you 10 times in one night without taking a break." Although he wanted to say something, his body was weak now, really weak. Shake it. After Li Fan finished peeing, Takeda-lan ordered. Damn you, even if you don't say it, I still have to shake it. Li Fan did the final work, and then Takeda-lan pulled up his pants. At the hospital, he changed into a hospital gown, which was more convenient. Your operation is scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. Try not to eat too greasy food during the day, understand? Takeda-lan sent Li Fan back to the bed, and after covering him with the quilt, she did not forget to say a few words. Got it, Miss Takeda, sorry to trouble you. Li Fan sighed in his heart, this Takeda-lan is simply his nemesis. My hospitalization, I hope Miss Takeda can keep it a secret. I get off work at 5 in the morning. Takeda-lan looked at her watch. If you haven't slept at that time, I will come over and chat with you. Takeda-lan still had to go to work. She helped Li Fan tidy up the quilt, and then turned to leave. Sister nurse. Don't go. Ha, a few yards. The nearby Zhao Yingjun suddenly shouted in his sleep, which made Li Fan want to laugh. This guy, in this life, may die on a woman. He lay quietly on the hospital bed. Although his body was weak, at this moment, Li Fan's mental strength was unusually strong. After Mr. Yang disappeared completely, he left a huge amount of spiritual power for Li Fan, which was also a good legacy. In addition, he cultivated the 9 Truths Secrets art, which strengthened his mental power significantly. Li Fan couldn't fall asleep, so he let his mental power sense everything around him. When Li Fan placed the ethereal platform, his mental strength would become several times clearer, and he would be able to perceive his surroundings. In Li Fan's mind, all the people in the hospital were reflected. Each of them had a colorful glow on their bodies, some strong, some dim. Those who were strong were people with exuberant energy. Those who were dim were those who were about to die. Only Li Fan could enjoy this wonderful world alone. However, he had already given up on the Star Luo Supreme art, so he had no way of absorbing the vitality of the people around him to replenish his own energy. Even if he could, Li Fan wouldn't do it. Moreover, as long as Li Fan was willing, he could absorb the flesh and blood of others and quickly repair his body. But no matter which one it was, Li Fan didn't want to use it casually. These methods were too crazy. If there was a god, he was afraid that the god wouldn't like it. Li Fan didn't seek good or evil when doing things now. He just wanted to be able to live up to his conscience. Li Fan. After lying down for a long time, Li Fan heard a familiar voice. He opened his eyes and saw that Takeda Lan had returned to his side. Takeda Lan had changed out of her nurse uniform. Her top was a white shirt, and her lower body was a pair of denim hot pants, revealing her small waist and long legs. It was really pleasing to the eye. In particular, these hot pants were a bit too short. Li Fan felt that if he tried hard, he could see the small triangle inside. Girls nowadays were beautiful with less clothes. It was really too fortunate to be born in the modern world. Li Fan couldn't help but shed tears of excitement. You haven't slept yet. Takeda Lan was a little surprised to see Li Fan so energetic. There's a surgery in the afternoon. You should have a good rest. I'm waiting for you. Li Fan said with a half-truth. Do you Chinese boys like to coax girls so much? Takeda Lan rolled her eyes at Li Fan. Ahem, how can you say that? I'm not that kind of person. Li Fan said that this Takeda Lan was not simple. It was estimated that after living alone for so long, the little girl's mind was very sharp. Why didn't you tell your family that you were injured so badly? After work, Takeda Lan was more casual. She was very curious about this question and finally couldn't help but ask. First, I don't want them to worry. Second, I can't let anyone know that I'm injured. Many people are eyeing me covetously. Once something happens to me, they will immediately attack my forces. At that time, the last bloodline of Wulin will be really broken. You martial artists are really strange. Takeda Lan was very puzzled. In our country, a powerful martial artist will definitely be respected by other martial artists. But here, martial artists also like to fight to the death, hoping that the other party can't survive. Why is that? You ask me, who should I ask? Li Fan was also helpless. This problem had been like this in China since ancient times. Chinese people had a habit of loving internal strife. The more superior the internal environment, the more fierce the fight. However, once there was a foreign enemy, it would be different. No matter how fierce the internal strife was, they would first unite as one, drive the foreign enemy out, and then fight internally. China's thousands of years of civilization history was always filled with internal strife, which made the glorious Wulin in the past to be on the verge of death. In modern times, there were two thorough purges. One was the Red Decade, and the other was the Holy War planned a while ago. Your Japanese Wooleen is also eyeing us covetously. If I fall now, then it's really over. I still don't understand. There was a puzzled look in Takeda Land's beautiful eyes. It's normal that you can't understand. I also can't understand. Li Fan lay on the bed, completely relaxed his body and mind, so, you must not leak the news that I'm here. You asked me for one thing, and I'll also ask you for one thing. Takeda Lan pleaded, you're already injured, please don't compete with my grandfather. It's just a little injury, it's not like I can't recover. Li Fan looked at Takeda Lan and told her word by word, I'm a martial artist. Refusing another martial artist is humiliating me. What's more, I have the Chinese Wooleen behind me. If I don't fight, where will the face of the Chinese Wooleen be? You're not the only one in the Chinese Wooleen. Takeda Lan asked, don't you still have Wudong and Shaolin in China? Can't you just let them fight for you? You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.